try to work with that.
Yeah, I mean, whatever happens. We'll make it work.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
not
there's a
not the
chance I
most
might end up having to
sophisticated.
leave to go put little man to bed anyway. So there'll be a point where I'll probably be absent for a minute. So it's happened the last 2 episodes. He doesn't let anybody else put in bed but me.
Oh, that's cute and inconvenient, but
Yeah.
All right. So here we go. We are live now. This is the TatCast, episode 3. Finally pulled on one of the other members from the Edge Tattoo. We have Megan as we'll call a guest, but probably going to be a regular on the show.
Love them both.
All right, sounds good. We're just going to kind of like talk about some tattooing stuff. We really don't have anything much outlined. I have a couple of topics we can cover, and then maybe if you guys have anything or any thoughts, we'll go into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get Megan to do some sort of intro. Do you want to explain where you're at in tattooing? Like give some sort of general synopsis?
Yeah. So I am very, very new at tattooing. I am a baby and the baby of the shop. I started my apprenticeship with Angelo in April of 2018. So just kind of over the 2-year mark for that. And then I've been tattooing, I don't know, let's call it a year, I guess. I'm very new at it. But I don't know, it's what I want to do forever, and I miss it, and I miss you guys.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I mean, as some background, I would say that Megan is probably, I've seen, so like besides my personally taking on an apprentice, I've seen a lot of apprentices come through my shop with other artists that have tried to, take on people for whatever reasons. A lot of different attempts, different styles of attempts where people had different formats, and a lot of failures. So from those failures, I tried to take that and build that into what I had for her, and it's working out well so far. Megan's definitely one of the most committed artists that I've been around. She's aggressively growing in art and tattooing, and just generally, I think as like a service employee. In the beginning, I still remember you were extremely shy and like you didn't like to talk to the clients and stuff as much. But now I never even noticed that being a factor anymore. So like kudos on all of those things, as well as the dedication it took. And the shop pretty much apprenticed Megan. It wasn't just me. So like everybody ended up teaching her, which was great because I didn't necessarily have tons of time to dedicate because of some things going on personally. So like thanks to you, Dennis and Bryant as well, for picking up the slack there and just contributing, which I know you would have anyway. But yeah, it's like an awesome experience. And now like to have someone that we've trained and like is a valuable asset to the shop is such a nice thing. Super cool to have like somebody around that does the right stuff. Like you don't have to worry about weird nonsense going down. Like you pretty much operate based on things that we've showed you and then elaborate based on things that you've learned in legitimate ways. So
I didn't have anything for this other than what you guys taught me, so you don't have to. I don't know if it was the first episode or the last one that you guys are talking about people like struggling with artists coming to the shop and having their ways that they're set in and kind of changing like certain maybe rules that you have in the shop or sanitary things or anything like that. And at least I don't have any of that. You got me fresh with that. But yeah, it's been, I don't know, it's definitely been, you guys all helped me out when you didn't all have to, especially. And I definitely appreciate that. And I don't know. Yeah, I'm loving life.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I think the way that Megan did things was the way that most people should go about it. Staying persistent as far as showing an artist your portfolio. Also, not taking the first no or getting discouraged after someone says to leave and come back. I think that's just all a part of it. Even if they thought that your first portfolio showing was like super good, like you can draw, like fantastic, good for you. But if you coming back and just talking to the artist again, you're just showing like other traits that are kind of required to be a tattooer. I think personally, it's opinion, but I think for the most part it's relatively true. It's showing some sort of perseverance, showing some sort of determination, and by coming back and showing new artwork and continuing to kind of be persistent, that's how you get into tattooing. And I don't think people that just walk into shops and just get handed apprenticeships, it's not really, I don't think it's going to work. I just don't think that's how it works. And usually there's something fishy about someone just grabbing you, like if you were like, hey, I want to do an apprenticeship, and then someone was like, okay, sure. I think there's something fishy about that, but from what I noticed, she did things the right way, and it was
the way that it went originally. Like, she came in and I told her, I was like, I don't know, I don't think anyone else here is doing apprenticeships. I was like, I am on the borderline of being willing to do something like that, because I had like sentiments in my mind about how nice it could be if somebody was trained right, and then you could get them to stick around and kind of like guide them along this journey in a way that you can help them grow. So like to offer that, I think like was my main goal if I was going to do it. And I told her that day, I was like, I think you should go find somebody else more qualified. Like anyone that will kind of like take you in, and like I need to figure out how I would do it and like what it would be worth to me. Personally, I'm a believer in paid apprenticeships. I think a free apprenticeship is kind of like a phony thing. It has probably some sort of like background need for that person. I feel like if you're going to do a free apprenticeship, there's some sort of like, obviously anyway you're getting something out of it, but if you're doing that, like in most cases there's something to it that like there's not enough on the line, I think, for the apprentice, and I think that there's not enough on the line like for the person who's doing it, because there's too little liability. So to like squander that person's chance and like not give them the right amount of time and effort, I think is the biggest issue that can happen there. So for me, I was like, I want to get paid, but then how the fuck am I going to do this? So for me, I definitely thought the best way to do it would be to create more of like a syllabus approach, and kind of like work through stages, some things that I've done, some things that I've seen done, things like that. And I think it went pretty smoothly.
Yeah.
I'm gonna butt in just like every so often. I'm gonna keep a look at the chat, because I know we got people in here that ask a lot of questions, and this question is for all of us. What's the best piece of advice you got starting out in your apprenticeship? And we'll start with Megan.
I think definitely just kind of what you touched on before, of being persistent, and that it's not going to be something easy by any means, as far as dedication to artwork and literally just putting up with, no, that's bad, do it again. Like, it's something that, especially as artists, we don't always take that as well. And so I think just staying persistent, like when you're in your apprenticeship, and then just trying to take anything you can from your environment, I guess, as far as like your mentor and like everything of the shop environment you're in. And then there's always the advice that you gave me, Brian, on the first time I ever met you, of just don't embarrass me. So
I think what that was not advice, but more like an intimidation factor. Like, hey, like you can come in here, but not everyone wants to hold your hand and give you what I think we all individually worked for, like super hard in different ways. I don't believe tattooing is something that should be like just handed to somebody and like like given, so that wasn't like, hey, I'm a badass. It was like, hey, just know that there are some shitty people out there, And I'm
Yeah.
not one of them, but you never fucking know. So it was just kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, everyone can tell you, everything you're doing is great, but also, still fuck off for a little bit. Like that's just how it goes, so.
Yeah.
But I love you. We love you.
Get that.
Brian, what about you?
Go
Or
home.
you got something, Dennis?
Yeah.
What's your piece?
Yeah, so me personally, I went through 2 apprenticeships. First one ended up being essentially shitty, and I ended up being let go for really multiple different reasons. Apparently, nobody gave me a straight answer. So fuck that place. But my second one, it like a big part of it is knowing kind of what Megan said, knowing your environment, like seeing if the place's vibe's good. Make sure that you have like portfolio of drawings. That's a big plus. Really like seeing if you click with with the shop, with the people there, because you can end up having a bad time as an apprenticeship. You can end up having a shitty apprenticeship and not knowing anything. Megan was lucky enough to actually be around 4 or 5 artists that helped her out big time during this, and we're all of us at the shop are all different, have different style to each other. So I do also agree with Angela about like a paid apprenticeship is probably your best way, because that's essentially a contract in itself between you and the person who becomes the apprentice. I mean, going to the shop, hanging out with people, just chit chatting, having a relationship kind of also helps with that aspect. But like I was given a chance. It took me a couple of tries going to a couple of different shops. And then I was given a chance at the shop I apprenticed at second time around by Justin Wines. And I explained to him what happened the first time around. I explained to him like I just want to get my foot in the door. I want to do things the right way. I want to be able to reach this goal that I've wanted to reach for a long time. And he, lucky enough, he gave me the chance I needed. And like I said, I kind of started a little later in my career, or like in my life. So I didn't start until about my later mid to late 20s. So I had to work twice as hard because I was working a full-time job while doing my apprenticeship. But I was determined. As long as you have that determination and you understand that, like, don't make yourself full of it, like that you're some badass tattoo artist. Trust me, you will get shut down real quick. As an apprentice, you're there to learn. You're there to respect your mentor, and you're there to do what you need to do to get to your goal and your end goal, and not treat it as this is just something for me to make money. Because if that's how you're going to think about it, you're going to be weaned out real quick. Because me personally, having eventually, if I have my own apprentice, that's the shit that I'm gonna look for. Like, you're gonna have to, I want you to be dedicated. I want you to be able to actually know that this isn't just something for like a hobby. And that's how I treated it. I didn't treat it as like as a hobby. I treated it as like, this is my goal. This is my career. This is something I want out of it. And the more you put into it, the more you're gonna get back. And I constantly keep trying to put more into it, and I keep getting more back. I've learned so much more now that I'm like, holy shit, like I didn't even know I could do this. And I look back at some of my old work and my new work, and I'm just like, all right, so there is some improvement. Because
Yeah.
as we all talked about, last episode, we're all our own worst critic. So, as an apprentice, you do your first tattoo and you look at it and you're like, what the fuck is that? Am I even like progressing in this? But all I can say is just have the confidence to keep trying, keep going. If you get turned down by one shop, go to another shop. Get turned down by that shop, go to another shop. It's just a matter of like knowing where to go, how to do it, and get it done right.
Don't go to any shops right now; they're all closed.
Yeah, except for now.
Call them all.
So Brian, obviously you had like a more difficult road in the apprentice status. I think obviously you learned some good lessons despite being screwed over in the end. Like you had a solid foundation built, and I think like you were able to absorb a lot of good habits and practices overall.
Yeah.
But what do you what do you think is the thing for you that stands out? Even though there's a lot, like honestly, the animosity and stuff that you've dealt with was a big um, inspiration to me to make sure that like I did the right thing if I was going to take on an apprentice. I didn't want it to like end in a way where I was going to have some artist that goes on to become, you know, a good artist in the local area that just, you know, doesn't like me and is fine to tell people like some shitty thing that I've done to them.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, my getting into tattooing was a little unorthodox compared to what is considered like normal now. I mean, it's like I say that like it happened 15 years ago, but it was just a few years ago. Where maybe my mentor started out with good intentions, and then it really just like his personal life and his own life, he just couldn't handle it. He just couldn't take on the responsibility, and I think there was part of him that just expected me to kind of give up, which goes back to what Megan was saying about just like keep going. And it was really hard for me to keep going because after I had lost my apprenticeship, is when I really sunk into a pretty deep depression, and didn't leave my house for a couple months, and ended up just like kind of getting over it and finding a job and just painting and going shop to shop like I talked about in the first episode, and until I found somewhere to work and keep going. And even that wasn't like a legitimate apprenticeship. And I met a lot of weird people. I met a lot of good people. It was just, I was all over the place. I was tattooing here, tattooing there, talking to him, talking to her. It was just very kind of all over the place. So I can't pinpoint like one specific thing that was like, this is what you got to do, or this is what stuck out to me the most. I think what it was like, it really is something like in yourself, not to sound like super cheesy. But like, obviously I went through all these hurdles, but like I tattooed now, like, and it wasn't because someone finally said you can do this. It was because I kept telling myself, you're gonna do it. This is what you're gonna have, you know. So I don't know. There wasn't like one thing that really stuck out. It was just this accumulation of these things that I've learned from so many people.
Uh-oh. Yeah, we'll be right back. It did shut me down for a second here, so just hold on 1 minute. I'm gonna have to invite everybody back to a fresh call. Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna have to find something else to use next time. All right. Shutting down shop, not shutting down tattoo meetings. There's Zoom meetings. I love it. Yeah, they'll all be back on in a second. I'll have everybody back in here. I might have to rearrange where the names are at, but for me, the number one thing I took away from my apprenticeship was to continue and just keep drawing all the time. The number one thing that my mentor inspired me to do is just art production. He had been like a 30-year tattooer by the time that I started an apprenticeship. And one thing about John that like always stood out to me very strongly was that um he had like cabinets around the shop, right? And the the best way um to get better as an artist was to keep drawing and keep painting. So he would have these crazy ass pencil drawings, like sick Prismacolor stuff. that I would just dig through his cabinets and like pull out, and this is just shit that he would never be like taking out or like showing to clients. And I'm like, how do you not have this shit on display? Like this belongs in a frame. Um, I have like I think I have one of the originals of a really sick drawing that I have that I keep at my house, and that one like it's just one of 1,000 for him. Like in his cabinets, I would just dig through it and just find like crazy art. So then that would just inspire me to continue like producing my own stuff. And nowadays, it definitely like during quarantine, I was hoping to be producing more art, but I haven't yet because of handling getting through like a lot of backed up stuff personally. But now I'm at the point where I'll have the chance to finally delve back into some of that stuff.
Yeah, I've kind of been trying to do the same and kind of keep getting distracted with everything else. So, but seeing that we have like a whole other month to go, I think we're gonna have a little more extra time right now.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Which sucks too, because like if we go back on June 20th, it's like 2 days before my birthday.
There you go.
But more than likely, I'm probably gonna spend my birthday here. And my wedding anniversary.
Oh yeah, true. You got that double up.
I don't even remember what I was saying. So
yeah, I got cut out too. Right at the same time.
Yeah.
The moral that I was taking away was that you were staying persistent and had envisioned yourself, doing this, and you knew that this was your goal, so you weren't really going to let things stop you.
Yeah, there was really only one thing that, like, I guess my mentor said to me, and he one night, he's doing the usual, and he's like, "So what are you gonna do if it doesn't work out here?" And I was like, "Tattoo," and he's like, "Good." And that was like really just kind of what I stuck to. It was a combination of like what he asked me and what like what my response was, and that was just kind of that was it.
Yeah, during my apprenticeship, at some point, my mentor wanted me to go, like, pretty much had me go from working full time to working part time, so I could be at the shop more, and then like slowly, like, cut my ties from my old job to this. And like I said during the first episode, my last day working a non-tattoo job was the day before my wedding. And I haven't looked back since.
He said, "Let my dog out." He did have me take his dog out once. I do remember that. I do remember driving back to his house and I had to let his dog out and feed his dog. I do remember that. Yeah, I did a lot of stuff like that. Yeah. People think it's not real. It is. It's real. It's real. Yeah.
I'll admit, like, I've lucked out on some stuff. So like my mentor told me some stuff about his friendship, and I'm like, man, it could have been a lot worse for me. So it could have been a lot worse.
Oh,
so he told me some stories. So Megan, you lucked out too.
I really did. Like in every way, I lucked out as far as like just all aspects of the shop I'm in, like people I'm with, like mentor, everything. Just, but at the same time, like that doesn't mean it was easy. But I'm definitely grateful for where I am.
Yeah, I don't think you had like a typical, like what people consider like these typical apprenticeships with the hazing and the nonsense and it's stuff that really doesn't exist, and it's just like this idea that people have that it exists and think that it should be a thing. Like it seems like no tattooer really had that getting into tattooing, but once you're in tattooing, you just think that's how other people should get into tattooing, because
I think I would get a little shit, but it wasn't anything like over the top. But I mean, I think doing like minimal hazing, like nothing crazy, nothing stupid, just stuff that kind of everybody can laugh at. That doesn't do any kind of harm. I think it's fine.
There asks, what's one of the shittiest things you had to do during your apprenticeship? We'll start with Megan again.
I don't.
I don't think you had to do anything shitty.
I don't.
Learn. I don't know.
I mean, I see people like, I mean, all these horribly and don't ever do like unsafe people being like, drink this rinse cup and like, I'm gonna shoot a needle at you. Just have to
Rinse cup tastes okay.
anything, but like, I didn't have to like, and it was not like, go rake my yard. Like, I didn't have to do weird, I don't know.
Yeah.
The work I did put Megan to was mostly like clerical work around the shop, and that like
Should've-
that all
should've had her
had
shape
a
of
that all
dude's
had a
ass.
reason to it. Like there was goals and ends. Like I had well thought out what was going on, and like for a period of time, you know, she was doing the work for free, and that was, you know, part of the apprenticeship. I had told her that there was going to be, you know, some labor done as well, for free, but it all ends up being learning labor. Like as soon as it wasn't learning time anymore, and that I saw you were proficient at the things that I wanted you to become proficient at, you know, I offered you the base pay, you know, on hourly, and that, you know, also helped ends meet for you as
Yeah.
you led into actually becoming an artist. And it's fine, you know, because it got you on payroll early, so it was easier for me later on. But
And if there's any other like apprentices or like first year tattooers watching this right now, Megan uses coil machines, so fuck you. Fucking uses coil machines. So
I started off with coil machines too.
you gotta step your fucking games up, guys. I see those first years out with their pens. I'm like, come on,
I
man.
think I've used rotary.
Oh, you still haven't really used one yet.
I use rubber.
Yeah, no.
It's a
For me, I think I'm trying to think. I almost had to clean. I almost had to clean up a shitty bathroom once. Almost. Like, so the building we had was, it was two different offices. One of them was the shop, and then the other one was like a Liberty Mutual. And so, but we shared the same bathroom because there was a hallway down the middle. And I guess one of their customers came in. It must have been like an old woman or something like that, and she had to go use the bathroom. She shat all over the place in the
Oh.
bathroom.
I was gonna ask, is it like a shitty bathroom, like just like a
Yeah.
rundown bathroom, or like one covered in shit?
No, it
That's
was a nice,
awesome.
it's a clean bathroom,
Yeah.
but
Not
she
me.
literally
But-
like
Covered in shit.
get
Yeah.
everywhere.
Oh, God.
So lucky enough, I was actually at work when this happened. So by the time I came to work, it was already taken care of. But I think, like realistically, I think the worst thing that happened was I'd have to shave like a lot of his like friends who were getting tattooed. I had to shave their asses because they got ass tattoos.
How many people were getting ass tattooed?
A few.
Enough.
I actually had to shave one dude who was like a really good friend of the shop, his ass, because he was a big Futurama fan, and he got the Bender tattoo from the Bender's Big Score on his ass cheek in the same spot, and I had to be like this close, shaving.
You almost made me do that, Dennis. You
I
threatened.
know I should have had to do it, but
Yeah,
you
but
weren't my apprentice, so I couldn't do that.
I don't know. I still would have done it if you made me, but that guy was creepy. So you're like, no.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, for me, I didn't have like I had an apprenticeship where he was very kind overall. He never made me do any like nonsense, but I also put in a lot of effort. Like when he gave me a station in his shop, I cleaned the fucking shit out of that station. Like that thing was immaculate, and like there wasn't a spot, and I would do that for any part of the shop
Yeah.
that needed it. So I think there were a couple times where I, you know, cleaned up parts of the bathroom and stuff. Anything I could do to contribute felt pretty good to me. But you know, that definitely was something I appreciated and also wanted to offer. But for Megan, there were things like she was cleaning the shop, you know, like she was like doing the floors and stuff in the morning. She would come in and like be a part of the opening by herself, you know, on many days eventually. But it's all part of it. Like for me, the way I look at it is kind of like ancient Japanese method of learning, like, you know, be thorough. Like there's a lot to it where you're like, you got to be able to do the base things. So for understanding cross contamination and what needs to be cleaned and handling that for the shop, and that like all of those things are important, and how like being
I
thorough
gotta
with
leave. Sorry, on the side note, I gotta leave in 5 minutes to go put little man to bed, but I'll be back.
word. And like how that will be like part of what educates you, and like, and I can get a vision as well, like as the teacher, to see like, can you even clean a floor thoroughly, if asked? Because if you can't, then like when it comes to dealing with someone else's skin, like, are you going to handle that as ethically and as like thoroughly as needed? And that need is great, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so I think overall, like a lot of the things that kind of I enjoyed, I passed on, and then I put a lot of extra thought into it, using the lessons learned from issues that I've seen with other apprentices. Because the Edge, since I've owned it, I think you're the first successful apprentice. You're the first artist to successfully learn at the Edge how to tattoo. And there
Wow.
was, many attempts, like many attempts, and attempts by people who started off with intense artistic skill sets, like people that I was very excited to get into the industry and to potentially work with, that fell flat on their faces. So it comes to determination. Like, it's definitely not just all about base skill going in. It's definitely super important to put that time in. And I've upgraded our Zoom subscription, so we won't
cool.
have any more closures, hopefully. So otherwise, other than like apprentice stuff, on a side note, did you guys review the like flyer that I posted in the group chat about the first online not seminar, convention?
Summit?
I saw it. I didn't understand it.
Yeah, I mean,
I just saw that it was like
it's a very interesting concept. I don't know how he's going to execute it. Like, the things he's talked about are very strange. But I'm very excited for it. For those of you who haven't seen it, I'll try to pull it up here real quick. Show to the stream. The basis of it is it's Guy Aitchison, obviously, who else puts together amazing things for tattooing, and reinventing the tattoo. Oh shit. As well as tattoonow.com, which really has not been around in the tattoo industry for a while. So
sponsored by Eternal Ink.
It's backwards, yeah. But yeah, so it's Eternal, Cheyenne. It's got some pretty good sponsors. And it says, something about missing the social aspects of tattooing. How can we get together again? In the meantime, virtual tattoo gathering. It's the first of a series of online events that they're going to be working with. There's going to be a ballroom with booths hosting webcams at tattoo studios where you can watch, browse portfolios, and check out the newest t-shirts. There will be a main stage video feed for public with interviews, panels, critiques, and product demonstrations. There will be seminars for professionals, only including a detailed COVID safety class by Chris LaChance, which I'm pretty excited about. Apparently they've got some good information. They're going to be allowing a release form, and it's all free. So there's nothing about it that they're charging for. There's multiple seminars. There's a seminar about layering and rendering with Nick Baxter. There's a technical seminar with Carrie Barba, and that I think is going to be mostly about like pigments and needle groupings and stuff. And there's a brief, bit of information about it out now, but it is next weekend. It's May 26th, May 27th, right? Is that the weekend?
I think so.
But it sounds really cool. I'm excited to potentially participate and get involved. And I think I've got a decent setup here. So if they run another one the month after and we're still not tattooing by then, I might be interested in getting in on that. Convincing my lady to I don't know, get a tattoo, which won't be difficult. Daryl, it is free. So it's going to be all totally free, including the seminars. And a Nick Baxter seminar usually runs about $250 to $300. So I would say it's gonna be high value for the consumer. Um, Obviously, I'm sure there's going to be some sort of endorsements or whatever that involve some sort of advertising or trying to sell some stuff. But I mean, it'll be tattoo related stuff. I think that's kind of cool. Overall, so I just wanted to throw that out there and create a little bit of hype for something in the tattoo universe that's not just someone making art or prints or one state going back to tattooing.
Yeah, one. I don't know. I mean, I guess I would probably do more research on it, but I mean, if it sounds like if people are trying to obtain that knowledge and are interested in those kind of things, and it sounds like a good opportunity. Yeah.
The layering thing I'm imagining that's involving painting, because it's Nick and he's, I think, primarily now an oil painter. I think most of his money is earned through that, if I'm not mistaken. He still does absolutely glorious epic tattoos, but that is something that, like, we talked, I think, a little bit about last week. Jim was saying something about like getting tattoos redone and having his stuff like refreshed, and I like that idea. Like, especially, I mean, obviously it's ideal if you can get the artist who originally did it to do the refresh or whatever you want done.
Right.
If it's been so long that it's not the same, but the idea of there is ways to, especially for certain styles, more specifically for certain styles, to make tattoos that are just not accomplished. Like, you cannot do any other way than give that tattoo 5 years, give that tattoo 10 years, and put another coat on it and create some like absolutely insane shit. Guy Aitchison's actually one of the people that I see doing that like most regularly, where he has a client that is wearing like a full sleeve and he's going to go back in, do the whole sleeve again, but not just redo it, same colors here and there. He's going to just emphasize certain stuff and just kind of like you would layering an oil painting, but like the opportunity to, like, as a client, to get your shit refreshed, updated, whatever, ends up happening to it, I think is a cool prospect. And I wanted to touch more on that last week, but I didn't really get to. I think we got onto other stuff instead. Dennis says best and worst stories with a client. That's tough.
That's like a whole different. Oh god.
I would have to do a lot of thinking on that.
Yeah.
I think I think when you do it, like, as far as best, like when you're in that good tattoo and the person's already like freaking out, this is sick, this is amazing, I'm so stoked. Like, it's always nice when a client is very verbal about it. And then, sometimes you have those clients where they're like silent the whole time because they're like enduring it and getting through it. And then at the end, like, they're crying because they just love it so much. I think those are probably the two outcomes that are like most rewarding, obviously. Otherwise, sometimes you just have a client that doesn't react almost at all, loves the tattoo, like drops you like a 40-50% tip and rolls out, and you just then like the appreciation is there. Like, they've just given you an absurd extra amount of money.
I've had people just be like super silent, and then like they're looking at it in the mirror, and they're just like, okay, yeah, and then they leave, and then they're like, then they post it on Instagram. They're like, I fucking love this shit. Thanks so much. Shout out, big shout out. And I'm like, what happened? And like they'll pass like 2 hours since you got home. Like, they're just like totally quiet at the shop, and then they get home on Instagram and they're just like nonstop raving about it. And it's like, that's great, but like, you fucking scared me. So
yeah, those people are like terrifying sometimes, like where you really don't know, like, especially when you feel that you've done a banger like the whole time, you're stoked on it, where like you're normally crushing yourself and you're like, I've killed this is gonna get 1 billion likes on social media, And obviously those are the ones that don't really hit as many likes as like the tiny
Yeah.
cross that you posted randomly one day just because you had nothing. And like you were like, I'll just put out the fucking bammer, and all of a sudden, pops. You hit some sort of fucking internet fame. Daryl's got a really awesome question. I think who or what is influencing your artistic style at the moment? Just for
We
me to
could-
touch quickly on that, I would say like there is a lot of different scenes like for tattooing in styles and countries. Um, Instagram, like I feel like always you like dive down these rabbit holes where you're like, that's cool, and then you're looking at them, then you see their shop, then you see the other artist, and then you're looking at that artist, and then now it's got a new suggestion of like check this out, and you're looking at that, and like randomly like I've gotten into a bunch of like French tattoo artists that are really into like patterning with very small subtle details where they're covering like ridiculous sections of a body, but like basically doing dots or something that's not much more than dots for the most part. And I would say like even if they're doing a whole back, 10% at most of the back is covered with ink, but it looks fucking glorious. And then like the Korean scene is insane right now. Korean tattooing is fucking gnarly. Super creative, super interesting. Sometimes I think bordering unethical, but I don't think they're too worried about it, them or the clients, because how good the shit's looking, and I don't think it's gonna stop looking that good. Um, there's a lot of fun stuff happening, I think, with yellow, bright yellow as an outline, and that's something I cannot wait to work with. I was just about this. I had a couple of pieces that I was going to get to use that on when I got back or when I was working, and now hopefully when I get back, still do the same. But like the shit that they're pulling off is like insane. I could name one artist I think on Insta is Bonky, Bongkee, is like absurdly insane. And there's some other ones as well you'll easily find if you like search that. But that's something that really has me going. And then otherwise, if you guys have anything right now that has got you like revved up, why don't you throw it out there?
It's tough. Because my influences have pretty much stayed the same throughout my duration of tattooing. Whenever I see like new things like that an artist would consider like groundbreaking or something like innovative, it's usually like I notice it, and then that's all it is. It's just an acknowledge that it exists. It exists. So like I don't know, like you come to me for a tattoo, and like my tattoos will change. They'll get better over time, and they'll same like the design process will get better over time. The actual application of the tattoo will get better over time, but you will always get a black outline, black shading, and color. That's what you'll get. That's every single time, probably for the rest of forever. And that's influenced just on, I don't know, what I like personally. It's just traditional tattooing or modern traditional tattooing. So like a bold outline, and you can use teal or pink or I don't know, like specific artists. A lot of European guys are like doing crazy cool traditional, like really cool. I think their outlines are a little too big. Like that's just gonna like really get puffy later. But you got 100,000 Instagram followers. It doesn't matter. It's at that moment. But yeah, Megan, you can tie this into, like we didn't even like what you do specifically as well, like your style or the styles that you're trying to dive into or the styles that you're interested in, because we didn't really talk about that much at all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, as far as like my style, yeah, I think that since I'm still brand new, I'm trying to try a little bit of every sort of style and like see, because I might like drawing a certain way doesn't always like, at least for me, since I'm so new, translate into what am I most effective right now at the moment of like tattooing in the way that I want it to look. So I don't know, like I don't have like a set style or anything like that. People ask me that all the time, or like, what do you want your thing to be? And like, I don't
Tattoos.
yet, because like I think I just that'll again, there's things I like doing, things I like drawing, but it's gonna come into like just time, I think, for
Well,
me.
me and Angelo talked a little bit about, I think it was the first episode, we talked a little bit about like pigeonholing yourself, like people getting into tattooing and saying like, this is what I do, and this is all that I'm going to do. And yeah, it's not the best way to approach it. It's not the best way financially. It's not the best way to get out there and like, you know, get your name out there. I think it only really works for certain people. And I think it's heavily demographic based. Connecticut is, they don't know what they want. Connecticut wants whatever you kind of tell them or whatever they see. Whereas like other places, like there are certain demographics that are just like, they do traditional tattooing. That's what they're getting when they walk in, and that's what they know exists. So these artists can just, you know, be an apprentice, do their first like little Sailor Jerry, hothead, devil, or whatever they do, and then they'll just do that for the rest of their lives. They won't do a single script. They won't try a single portrait of a dog or anything like that. They won't do any of that because they know that it'll never be desired there and that they'll make the right amount of money. But while you're in Connecticut, you know, it's like, if you know everything, you will be the most profitable. But my thing was, do I want to know everything and do it like okay, or do I want to do like a couple things like really good, you know? And I think it depends on who you are. It depends on what. So I think having interests and having like a direction that you want to go is like super important, because one day, like 10 years from now, like, you know, you want to find that one thing and like really like hit it hard. Like you really want to like focus on it super hard. Not even 10 years, 5 years, or 2 years, or next year, you know, and just like really hit it hard. And but still have like, be like, oh yeah, I mean, I haven't done script in a while, but you know, I still fucking do it. Boop, you know, and then you make your pay your bills and you go home. But then like when people come in for like your thing, you're excited about work again. You know, you're excited about tattooing and whatever they're paying you. Like you're not even thinking about, like, you're thinking about like that tattoo and how it'll look. Versus when your schedule is full of like those little tiny things and the script and the one up here that you're really nervous about, you're worried about, you're thinking about the paycheck inevitably, you know, and that's what gets you through it. But I think like it's okay to have like, if you want to be a traditional tattooer, you just say, you know, like that's what I want to do, but I want to do everything, you know, like I want to know everything, or at least try everything.
I at least want to give myself an opportunity, even if like I highly doubt I'm going to ultimately decide to do this style or that style, but I at least want to try. Sorry, that was my cat.
I've had some cat sounds going down as well.
Broke my lamp.
Oh,
But
no.
yeah, I think where I'm at in like my career is just keeping an open mind and trying what I can, pretty much.
I think for me, like I definitely am somebody who does like a variety of styles. I know, you know, what I'm better at than other ones, but I'm willing to do kind of, you know, whatever a client is asking, as long as they're fully understanding that that may not be the thing I specialize in. As we talked about before, obviously in our shop, if somebody has some sort of intense, you know, request that fits somebody else's bill better, we kind of point them in the direction of the artist who is going to be best suited. If it feels right to do that. So there will be times, you know, where I'll shoot off go see them or whatever, and then there will be other times where I'm like, you know, so inspired by something that I've seen you guys doing that I'm like, I want to fucking rip on some of that and like and do that. And I've been watching, and I think I can, you know, do a valid attempt and pull that off as well. My goal, I want to have a style. Like I want to be one of, you know, those artists that like somebody's coming to you and like they're like, oh, you know, I just want a turtle, you know, you have your way, do it your way. Like that's perfect for me. But I want to give it, like, I think 10 years is a good point. Like I think 10 years is like double expert. Like you should be, like, I've put my 10,000 hours in at this point. You know, I have that under my belt as a tattooer. I think that gives me like I've got a good foundation, but I'm still looking to learn so much more in all of the styles. And I think at any point, like, it's always good to dabble in something new because you never know what like subtle thing you're going to pull from that genre and bring it back to your own thing. Like if you do have that or when you do have that. Like, so for me, I'm aiming 5 years, so like 2025, I'll be hoping to like be pretty grounded in on something and push that. And like, I want that style when I push it artistically to like really send it and buckle down even harder than I have and take that opportunity to be pigeonholed and to enjoy all the greatest parts of that. Because I think there's validity in all of it, but as a newer artist, I think it's a lot of, you definitely should do a variety of things to get by financially. um and we all have that struggle of like, what are we willing to try and what are we willing to not try because
Right.
of what you want to give to a client. So like for me, that's where I stand on like my plan.
And that's the thing about tattooing though, is that like, these artists are telling me when I'm first starting out, like, hey, like you want to do everything. If you want to make money, you want to do everything. And it's like, I get that. And then, okay, so what if we all had to follow that guideline? And now you have, I mean, however many of us in Connecticut doing everything. So everyone is capable of everything. Then it becomes a battle of what? Like availability. It becomes a battle of personality. I mean, is big anyways, but like, I feel like when you do try to focus on one thing more than kind of being like a all around, everything, then you also have that, that will get you your clients. I really think that's important instead of
For
being
sure.
like, because what if you're not available? You're okay, so you're that all around guy, and someone's coming to you, they like you, this and that, but then for some reason you're just like not available like that one day. Those guys are going somewhere to get walk-ins from somebody else that does everything. They're not going to care because, oh, well, I know my guy can do it, but this guy can do it too, versus if they're coming to me for, what I do, nobody like, I guess you can call it traditional, but nobody tattoos like I do, at least that I've seen. Um, so my clients, they know that they can't go somewhere else and get like my tattoo. Like they just can't, like they can't get something. They can get a traditional tattoo from another one of the ridiculously good traditional guys in Connecticut, but they can't get one with my hand. Like I can't, they can't get what I have to offer. And I think that if you kind of focus on being like this, everything, doing everything, it just lowers the bar a little bit, and it kind of spreads out the talent, into like making everything like somewhat mediocre.
Yeah.
And then it's like someone else is just going to be able to handle the tattoos that you were unavailable that day for, and have more clients that are going to other people because they don't care. As long as you can do everything, if that tattooer can also do everything, they're just going to go to them. But at the same time, I hate to like keep jumping back. Like it's good to know everything, and I know successful artists that do know how to do a little bit of everything. Angelo definitely dabbles in everything. He's not afraid to try anything at all. Like if they're just like, this is what I want, he's gonna be like, sure. And then I'm usually the one that's like, I don't do it. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. But that's okay. I think that's what makes tattooing so great, is that there are people willing to just be like, yeah, I'll put an owl portrait in your earlobe. And then there's me that was like, I'm not fucking, I would never dare, but like, I think that's what makes it so good, because if everybody was willing to do everything, we wouldn't have as much fun with each other. We wouldn't be here talking. We'd hate each other. We wouldn't be, like we'd be fighting with each other. We wouldn't be here, communicating or putting other tattooers on this show and advertising them, basically advertising them, because we're all different, So like, if we were all just like these like super, if everyone did the same exact thing, then it's like, who cares? Like who really cares who you are? Like the guy down the street does everything too. Like cool.
Yeah, I think it's definitely important to be able to get to that point where you have like a noticeable, hey, I already know who did that. Like when you see it, you don't even have to see a name or anything like that. That definitely, and that will bring clients, and that will bring more clients, and that can definitely accelerate your ability in that, because then you're doing more and more of what you want to do. And going forward, like it depends on how you push it, but like, the style you like probably wouldn't even be a thing if people didn't venture out from actual traditional. I feel like, you're on like probably the far end of traditional when it meets neo versus like maybe the furthest traditional end of like a neo, because now, like you said, the European guys, like I see a lot of European guys doing neo that's fucking mind-blowing. It's like, what have you done? And like those bold outlines, I think that they're locking them in, like kind of like how Nico said about this portrait, where he's like, yeah, the ink lock will make it so it doesn't really like blur out and shit over time, because you have enough ink packed into an area that's gonna like help secure it. Little side tip for any tattooers watching, like think about how ink can hold against other ink and prevent it from spreading.
Yeah.
So like that's all something to think about, I think. Plus on the fact that just like new school coming in, and like that being an elaboration on neo basically, and a mixture of that with other artists, and like just I think it depends a lot on where the artist is coming from, what they're doing, and
Right.
and the motivation.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I just like, I don't think that, you know, the way that I go about like my business or, you know, my tattooing, I don't think I should let anybody tell me like, you know, and I didn't let anybody stop me from being like, hey, you're not going to be a successful tattooer if you just keep doing these traditional like bold outline tattoos. And I was like, okay, like cool. Like I know the difference between advice and genuinely good advice from tattooers to get by in tattooing versus people just being like, well, you're not going to be as good as me, or you're not going to make any money. You know, people just being like petty or jealous that that I'm out there as like a first year tattooer with sought after traditional work. I wasn't making tons of money, but I was like, people were like, hey, you do traditional, like, and I'm like, hey, how do you know who I am? You know, like that was so.
Yeah.
So now I'm at the point where that's all people want. The people are like, yeah, let me get a turtle. Do it the way that you do turtles. And I'll be like, I don't know how I do turtles. But like, if someone asks me for something, then they're not going to be like, it has to be this one. You know, that I don't get shown the cell phone anymore. You know, like I don't get people coming up to me and being like, hey, you know, check this. Again, I'm not making thousands and millions of dollars, but I'm becoming more comfortable with my own tattooing. I'm becoming happier with the clients that I'm getting. And I get to do really cool tattoos, you know, and still feed myself and pay my bills. So like I have zero complaints right now. But somebody told me a few years ago, you got to do everything or you're not going to make it. I'm doing fine, you know. But if you want to go out there and reach for everything, that's like what's cool is that you have the accessibility to. You work with a black and gray artist, you work with a new school artist, you work with a traditional artist, you work with a neo-traditional artist, you work with a watercolor artist. But it's all, you know, you have everything, you know, at your hands, you know, like you can literally learn whatever you want. And do whatever you want. Like it turns out like, okay, so you were influenced by my traditional work in the beginning, but then you're like, wow, I tried watercolor and I really like it. And it turns out a lot of people are into it and I'm making a lot of money and I'm having fun. Then it's like, cool, just do it. You know, like that's what's cool. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think it's still important to have influences. Like Angelo could have an influence. Like he could see a traditional artist that like he really like, this guy's a tattooer. Like, he does great tattoos. Like, this is awesome. This traditional work's awesome. But Angelo is not doing traditional work every day. But he's still influenced by that tattooer. Maybe not the art style, but more like maybe by just like his growth or his you know, what he puts out or his message or whatever it is. Like anything besides the actual artwork, you know, you can still have influences from people that do a different style. Which is also cool. You know, I think that's awesome. So,
to chime in, just because like I kind of was listening through phone. I am kind of one of those people that do a little bit of everything, but I have been kind of trying to wean away from that and stick to what I know. Because going into this career, I wanted to be a new school artist. You know, I wanted to dabble in color. I love the fact that like you can do so many things with color. Color theory is such a crazy thing that it's taken me years and years and years to figure out. And I'm still trying to figure it out. but I've learned a lot through color theory. And like you said, dabbling in other things, you kind of end up maybe liking a different style. So for instance, like neo-traditional, I dabbled in that. I started dabbling in that, and I enjoy that because of the simplicity and also the technical aspect of it. And it just like I like how neo-traditional tattoos look. I like how new school stuff looks. And maybe eventually I might end up combining them and creating some crazy style that like you haven't seen, nobody's ever seen. And I do work in black and gray, and I like doing black and gray because growing up drawing, all I did was use pencil. And at the time I didn't know how to use color. I didn't know how to use color pencils. Or markers. I wasn't very good at painting, but when it came to like sketching and pencil, I could do that. So I knew how to get my tones in where I need to get them. But I feel like as a starting artist, having the ability to kind of know a little bit of everything helps you determine on where you want to go in your career. And then eventually you end up essentially creating your own style in a way where it's connected to a style. So, like you have your, Brian has his traditional and neo-traditional, but he has his own, you have your own way of actually doing it. And it's, it's definitely different than what normal traditional is. Same thing with Angelo, same thing with Nick and Megan. You're on your way where you're still trying to figure out where you want to go with your career. And I think I'm at a point now where I have enough clientele to where I can start weaning off, trying a little bit of everything and kind of working on the style I want to work on and get better at that.
Mm-hmm.
And over like the year, over the time I've spent being at this shop, I've had the opportunity to really start progressing on my style, my new school style as much as I want, and my traditional style as much as I want. And it's it's paid off so far, but I still I see myself still I still got a lot more to go in my opinion. I still have a long way to go till I figure out exactly where I want to be. Even at 5 years, I think for some people it takes them a year, takes them 2 years, takes them 5, takes them 10 to finally figure out where they belong.
Right.
In their style.
But to clarify what I was saying as well, there's a difference between like starting tattooing and then just saying like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to do the style versus also knowing like fundamental tattooing.
Yeah.
And fundamental tattooing is a lot of what our shop and lots of other shops get as a walk-in, like a regular basis. And that's why Megan does so well as well, because people are looking for things that are the fundamentals of tattooing, like a little wave and a sun. It was just lines. It takes 5 minutes, but that's what they want as a tattoo, not as like for someone to practice, not for Megan to practice. That's just what they actually want, So, and it's good to know script. It's good to know lettering, how to do it efficiently, how to do it quickly, how to do it well. So that when you are when you are doing your style, and like, I have one of my good clients in, and I'm doing this big color traditional, everyone's looking at, well, super cool, having fun, and then they're like, oh, and I brought my sister, she wants like this little thing. I'll be like, I got you. Like, you're gonna know how to do those things. You're not gonna be like, oh, I only do traditional, I don't know how to write the word love. Forget it.
I agree with you, man. Knocking out those little tattoos are always good. Like, I'll still do those little tattoos because those little tattoos are what get you those bigger tattoos. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. Especially people who come in for their first tattoo and they want to get something small. It's usually because they want to just try to get the feel for it. And then once they usually get that feel for it, they're like, all right, let's get something bigger done. They slowly get bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's when you end up creating a relationship with your client. You end up having another full dedicated client to yourself. Like you said, lettering is an art form in itself, man. Like, you have all those tattoo artists who just like to do lettering, and that alone, I look at that stuff and I'm amazed. I'm like, dude, the shit that these people can do with just lettering alone. I'm like, fuck yeah, you know. But yeah, those little tattoos, those little walk-in tattoos, I want to do a little wave or a word, whatever. It's definitely where like steps get taken
Mhm.
to get bigger, to get your clients to come in and get more cooler stuff.
Yeah. And we didn't ever land in like the places that we got to here where we have like amazing clientels by not taking on extra clients and doing those things. Like like Bryant and I, even in the beginning of his career, had many a night where we like were after hours, and he'd be like, I don't want to do this stuff, and I'm like, you gotta fucking do it. And then like it would get to the point where I spent a period of time just straight up tracking when he took on these projects that he was like on the fence about and like didn't want to do, and like how quickly one of those people would turn around. And it was like more than 50%. I think we landed somewhere around like 2/3, more like a 66% of the people you were tattooing doing like bammers on would come back and get something much more up your alley, like much like something that you were very excited to draw and to tattoo.
Yeah,
You know how many infinity symbols I've done? Too many arrows.
I've been fortunate enough not to do too many infinity symbols. I mean, I've done a good amount of them, but I think I was if anything, Megan coming in and learning how to tattoo from us, I was a big example of somebody that had a really hard time getting into tattooing. Not into tattooing, but but catering to everybody, and I had my first like year and a half, like maybe even 2 years into it, I had this kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Just this thought, just like that I did this style and that's what real tattoos were, and everything else like I was like too good for, but I knew I wasn't too good for it in like a technical aspect. It was like too good for I know what a good tattoo should look like, and like that's not what it is. But it's so important. It's so important to even when you are like some famous tattooer someday, just like maybe step back and be like, let me take one of these walk-ins tonight. Let me just do, and humble yourself and reground yourself, and just know that these, like every single tattoo that walks through the door is so important. It's so important to do. It's so important to like respect. Like, even if you're not the one that's going to do it, and I've passed on a lot of tattoos, and they got the tattoo from someone else I work with, and that's fine, and it turned out good. It's just important to treat them well, and that's something that I've really learned in the long run in tattooing. Is like it's really important to treat people well. It really is.
For sure, yeah.
And I definitely don't see any of my attitude in you. So I know that you will always treat clients nicely, and maybe it's more of a feminine approach. I don't know, but it's I definitely am a little rough around the edges, and like to the point where like Angela would have to like talk to clients on the side and be like, he's a normal dude, he's just like he's just it's just how it was, and
Yeah.
and that's something that I've really been like struggling to work on, but something I'm definitely like super aware of now. Whereas like a year and a half ago, I'd be like, fuck you, like I don't care, but like now it's something that I'm just like, yeah, it's real. It's a problem, and now that I have my own like specific clients, and I work primarily with people I already have tattooed instead of like walk-ins, it's a lot easier for people to see the real side of me, the real, like how I actually treat people, like people that I get along with, people like my clients, and that's why clients are important as well. But it's super important to like when there's a stranger and they're walking through and they're like, I got this phone full of bad ideas, that you should just be like, let's talk about them, instead of being like, turn around, like I don't want to talk, I don't want to talk to you,
Well, it's our job to take those bad ideas and make better ones.
Yeah.
Way better ones.
But even just engaging with them, like in general, if they might have an idea, you're like, wow, that's whack. But
yeah,
and I think in seeing like even since you were just talking about it, Bryant, like the way I first started at the shop, seeing how you address and like interact with like clientele now is like, I think I've seen a lot of like what like improvement in what you were talking about that you were looking for improvement, even in just like I did used to work the front counter and do the phones and be like, hey, do you want to do this walk? And you'd be like, absolutely not. But whereas
Yeah.
now, even you're usually doing your own big thing, but even if
Right.
it's something small, you're a lot.
Yeah, but
open.
there's other sides you need to look at from too, and
Yeah.
that's like if you're an employee somewhere, you know, think about this: like you're an employee, you're a tattooer, somebody hired you to come in and do a good job, you know,
Mhm.
and then you're turning down clients, you're saying no. So there's
Mhm.
no money coming in for yourself, but there's also no money coming in for the business. Like
Yeah.
you are, you know, getting bad reviews for yourself, you know, even though they're using my name, I fly under the same flag. You know, like I am part of the Edge Tattoo. So if I get a bad review, we all got a bad review. You got a
Yeah.
bad review. Angelo got a bad review. Dennis got a bad review. Nick got a bad
Yeah.
review. We all did. So that's something that I started to learn as well, is that I am not just like, you know, a lot of tattooers we're, you know, private contractors, but we still have to work somewhere and we still have to do the respect of where you work. You know, just because I'm a tattooer doesn't mean I can treat people poorly, you know. And you know, Daryl, you know, asks what you think a weakness is that you have in tattooing or art. I'd say that is definitely mine, like tenfold. Is just dealing with my own emotion and how it affects my clients, how it affects strangers
Mhm.
coming in looking to be treated well. And here I am, like they have no idea that I'm on the other side of the door, just waiting to like rip into them about this like terrible idea. They had no idea, and I now looking back at it, I feel terrible. I feel absolutely terrible and like ashamed because before tattooing, I worked in retail management. I did the opposite of what I do in tattooing. I had to treat everyone like they were 100% correct always because someone was like looking down at me always, you know? So,
That's best thing about this industry, man. I've said this before and I'll say it again. In this industry, the customer is always wrong. At least 99% of the time, the customer is always wrong.
no, I believe that
And
too.
we can
It's
tell them
just,
that.
there's a way to go about telling them that though, that
Oh yeah, I
did
agree.
not do.
Unless they're being douchebags about it.
Oh yeah, I know. But that's another thing too. Like, yeah, I understand where I've been. I understand how I've used to act. But if someone does mistreat, I'm going to tell them to kick rocks. Because even if we're losing business, that's not business that we want. Like even if we did the tattoo, maybe they'll just go out there and have some shit to say about it for the rest of their lives. You never know. So like you can be selective on who you tattoo. But I was a little too quick to judge based on maybe what something they said or something that they showed me on their phone that they wanted, or just the overall, like, who knows. But like you have to start as customer service, and then once you get to, once you get comfortable, then you can maybe be a little funny or sarcastic. I've said some things that I can't believe that I've said to people, working in the service industry. I can't believe that I'm still in business, from some of the things that I've said to people. Like I told this lady to do the tattoo herself. Like you just can't, you can't do that. Like you just can't.
I don't
And
know, that in a way that person, like, I think deserved it. Like there are, as a business owner, to address like this whole topic, like I think the the way that I look at it is like, obviously, like you said, it is all like, it all comes down to you're part of the team, and hopefully you have artists that are committed to that, because it's easy to have somebody fuck around and then peace out, and now you're wearing this shit that
Right.
has nothing to do with you or the things you want to provide. But it happened in your business, but to some degree you're hiring these people in the first place, so you got to know what you're doing. But the like where I'm at, now is much more flexible. Like I respect and fully allow you guys to turn down whatever is coming in if you don't want to do it. And like the great part is I am one of those people that will do most tattoos. So, I will probably do it if they really, if they have the patience to wait for me. But if it's a walk-in client, it's different than like somebody who's coming in or consulting with you. Like you do have to be gentler. Like that walk-in for the Edge tattoo that is coming back because in 1997 one of their best friends got tattooed at the Edge and it went fine, is coming back and walking through the door and just isn't ready. or it has no idea about the seriousness and commitment that you have to tattooing, and like doesn't know that you cherish this as your Bible, and like that they're coming in to talk about that. So,
But it's also, it's not just that. Like I could definitely hide behind the fact that I think tattooing is some like sentient fucking ham just being delivered to me, and I just cradle it and love it, and that's great. But like, it was also a combination of just like being in a shitty mood all the time, not taking care of myself, like definitely dealing with stress of the job, anxiety, depression, stuff like that. And so, of course, if you're having a shitty day and someone comes in, they're like, I want this piece of shit behind my ear. I'm going to be like, no, like, but there's just like, someone said in chat, I would rather be told my idea is stupid and let them show me how to make it better. I don't have to tell you it's stupid. I only need to let you know how I can make it better and work for me. I could go about it. I could make that tattoo work for me and you without even mentioning the fact that I thought that initial idea you had was bad or poor or wasn't going to work.
That's the art of it. Yeah.
You have to work on how you word things and how you speak to people. And I think that's half of this game. That's half of what we do, is how we communicate with people. Because there's also people that would just be like, yeah, sure, lay down, let's do it. But that tattoo is not going to feel great or look great or whatever. I think there's like a balance. I think you do have to kind of push people in the right direction, but there's also times where they're going to say no and they're going to walk out, and then you're like, I really need that money. But then you got to be like, but I also want to be a really good person and like not do that to them. But then you got to be like, but they asked for it, so it's just like, you're going to be, you're going to be fighting that for like ever. And like when I first started tattooing, I literally couldn't handle that scenario. I couldn't handle the fact that people wanted something that I didn't want to do or couldn't do, because when someone comes in and it was going to get tattooed, I'd be so excited. I'd be like, yes, tattoo it. That's my favorite thing. Let's go. And then they're like, crap. And I'm like, I'm instantly turned off. I instantly hate this. I instantly never want to touch a machine ever again. And I couldn't grasp that not everyone coming in wanted like a sick eagle. Like it's not going to happen. And it just didn't. So like, I had to almost like relearn. And a lot of this happened while I wasn't at the Edge, when I was off last year working at those other shops. And I had to relearn how to love tattooing as a whole, rather than just like traditional, like panthers and daggers and shit. Like I had to learn how to like love an entire art form, because I wasn't doing all that stuff all the time, so I had to like relearn how to love it and find that everybody coming in was super awesome and wanted the greatest thing. And I had to basically talk to them that way. And I think that's just super important. Like I'd argue that the way you treat people, and sorry to just like rant about it, but it's like, this is like super big for me. I really feel like that is more important than your ability in tattooing. Hands down, like I think that the way you treat people is in the long run more important than your actual tattooing ability.
It's facts for sure, because that's what people remember. Obviously they have the tattoo to hopefully keep and remember and not get covered up or fixed by somebody else, but they remember those moments. Like tattoo, I think the greatest part about tattoos, and why like I think you have no problem being more cavalier about your personal body and stuff, is just when you get tattooed, like there's so much more to it than the tattoo. There's the time interaction, like that now is a memento. Like you're not gonna fucking forget that. I don't know, you have a lot more tattoos than I do. Do you have any that you've just totally forgotten how the fuck these happened?
No, I mean,
Yeah,
maybe like some of the older last ones, like I forgot the exact night we were all hanging out, but it was a night we were all hanging out, like,
and you remember the context, like,
right. And that was important to me, like that was at that point important to me. And like when I'm at the shop now getting tattooed by Nick or Megan or whoever, like I just like, I don't care. I know like Nick always said, oh, I don't get to do a lot of this. I'm like, let's do some of that, or when I had Megan do her first tattoo, like without you even knowing, like it's not a tattoo that like had any significance to me, but it does now, like it's an important tattoo, but it's not it doesn't symbolize like the actual image isn't anything, you know. I just don't care, you know, like I don't care what's, we talked about this last episode and it made me sound like really stupid, but like I don't care what's on my body. I really appreciate like just going, like just hanging out and just getting tattooed. And now it hurts really bad. So like mostly just like crying with Nick and complaining and trying
You two are on the same boat. all the
trying
time.
different numbing stuff that like doesn't work and like yelling about it. But then at the end of the tattoo, we're like, he's like, you know, you like it? And I'm like, yeah, I like it. You know, like we had fun. It was just good. You know, tattooing is just good. It's just good. It's just good all around.
Yeah, I think that is the beautiful thing about of why, like, I think like your collection is still cool, and like I think that I think to some degree everyone's collection is valid. Like if you get a piece you don't like, or if you get a piece that you like can't stand wearing, like get it fixed, get it repaired, whatever. But like most tattoos, especially done by any half decent tattooer, are gonna be fucking cool. You know, you're like gonna have a good time. You're gonna have a memorable experience. You know, hopefully, you know, a couple of other points that stand out. And that is like, for me, like I think that's the coolest part about tattooing, and that's why like judging other people's tattoos or work or art quality or anything is like almost out the door for me. Like it's all about, you know, what I'm doing, what I feel about myself and my work and my ethic, and like I can look at other people's stuff and analyze, you know, whatever I want to analyze about it, but I'm not going to spend my time like being negative or putting it down in any way for any reason.
I've noticed too, like I've gotten tattoos from people that are professional tattooers, and I've done tattoos as a professional tattooer that I've seen later on, and there are imperfections. There are things where I'm like, oh, went a little too deep there, but the average person isn't going to know that, you know. But I, as a tattooer, know it. So like when I get tattooed by tattooers and something like that shows up, I'm like, oh, they went a little too deep there. But I think that shows, and I think another important part about tattooing, and this is why tattooing is never going to become some computer that scans your arm, is that it's done by hand. And the hands are just, I mean, people's whole lives change every day. So like I'll do a really great tattoo one day, and then the next day after that great tattoo, I did a tattoo that had a little imperfection in it because I'm just a human being with hands and I do it with my hands. So like all those little imperfections that I see in the tattoos that I've gotten from professional tattooers, I acknowledge them, but I understand them and like love them, you know, like because I
Hell
know
yeah.
that person did this with their hands. It shows that it was done by hand, you know.
It emphasizes all the good parts too. Like
Yeah,
that for any mistake you have, like the fact that any part of it looks like clean or looks fucking bold or bright or like has
Yeah.
like a really fun effect to it or anything, like it's like fuck
Yeah.
yeah, like that makes like that's even more awesome. And especially like at the end of the day, like when it comes down to personal appearance, nobody's really gonna get like close enough to you to be like that's totally fucked. And I mean, unless you're
Right.
getting like a house scratcher job, like you could definitely get some shit that's like looks absolutely ridiculous. But
Oh, and I've seen it, and I have some. You know, I did a
like
lot on myself.
there's that base level like that you like anything up from there I think is solid and like is valid.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just look at it as, you know, you look at the bad parts of the tattoo that, I mean, bad, I call it bad, but it's not like, you know, imperfections in tattoos, and then the good parts of tattoos. And you just like, you learn to appreciate that that was, you know, for everything it was, you know, that one line that was like super solid, and then that line on the other side that had like that blowout, or like that weird green color that merges into your skin that we still don't understand. But that we've learned is now a thing. That's a universal thing all over the world. Is that green is going into people's arms.
Yeah.
But I look at that and I'm like, this person took the time to like give me this piece of artwork. Like this person took their time and used their hands to like make me something for eternity. Like that's pretty cool.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because like that I just like you, like I think we all kind of have a tendency to judge our own work in that way. You know, there are times I've come home and I've told, you know, Trisha how I don't know how, you know, I tell her like I don't know if I did this well. I don't know if I like how I did this. I probably could have done this better. And she looks like she's like, you're out of your mind. But I mean, I see certain things on one of my tattoos. I'm like, man, I could have done that a little bit better, or I wish I could do that again, so I can touch some stuff here and there up. All these little imperfections, but at the same time, they're minor, and I think it's just nitpicking at some point.
Yeah.
You like compared to making bigger mistakes to little mistakes. Like the little mistakes you're very nitpicky about. And you're like, overall, the whole tattoo is great, but there's this one little thing right here which I wish I could have fixed, or one little thing I wish I hadn't done right there. Or as a color, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have used that color, and I should use this other color to make the other part of this tattoo stand out. But I feel like it's a lot, we're our own worst critic when it comes to our own artwork, because we want that perfection. And like you said, we're only human. We use our own hands, and it just, things don't always go the way we want them to go.
Yeah.
But doesn't mean that we don't get those tattoos where we're like, that tattoo's on point. That's exactly what I wanted. That's exactly how I wanted to get it done, and I got it done.
Right. But at the same time, we're talking as tattooers to other tattooers, where when we see these imperfections or when we see things, we know what it is, we know what it's called, we know how it happens, and we accept it. But then we, for the most part, tattoo people that have no idea. And when they hear that we're professional tattooers, they think that we have some sort of let's be real, they think highly of us. They're expecting a quality that we know on a daily basis. Sometimes we don't fulfill completely because we're human and because we're not robots. So when they're coming in, they're like, this is going to be the greatest tattoo I'll ever get. Your work is awesome. I love it. You're going to do the best job. And then I do the tattoo. And since I'm the tattooer, I know that during the tattoo, it's not going so hot. It's really not. This is not the best tattoo I've ever done. This is not going to be the best tattoo they ever get. But then when I'm done, they're like, I fucking love it. This is great. This is the best thing I've ever seen. And then I'm like, okay, you can check that up front. Let's wrap it up. Let's get it out of here real quick. But they love it. And then I'll heal them. I'll be like, yeah, that wasn't that bad. That really wasn't. We really are just our worst critics. We really are. And that's another thing too, is just Megan, getting through tattooing, I know you've had days where you do the tattoo and your face, you're just why did I have to do all that? Especially I've seen some painful looking situations of you tattooing the ribs, and you keep it cool, but then when they leave, you're just and I'm it's just, but your chair's always full. So you have to just find you have to just let yourself
eventually
be good at tattooing. You have to let yourself, that's honestly what was hard for me, is just letting yourself be good at tattooing. Let yourself have a fucking moment,
Mm-hmm.
Let yourself see a healed tattoo and not point out that one little spot that didn't heal all the way, and just be like, dude, it's sick. High five, just let yourself be good, and then it'll all fall into place,
Yeah. It does. It gets stressful because you're like, oh man, do they really like it, or are they just lying to me?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I like the fact that at least at our shop, we give each other advice. We show each other our tattoos after they're done. And usually when we get to the end, one of us, will chime in and be like, you should probably add a little bit more something here, and then you're good. You know what I mean? Having working in a shop like we work at, I really honestly enjoy, just because of the fact that we give each other feedback.
Yeah.
And it's not even and we don't ever do it in a negative way either. We're not assholes about it. We always be like, you know what? That would have looked sick if you just added a little more of this, or maybe if you did a different color, that would have came out top notch, or even just a little line there would have worked.
Sometimes I go about it as a question, so that, because you have to understand that there's still a person paying in the chair, and the person doing the tattoo is still a good artist. And if I ever see something, if I go buy someone's tattoo and I'm that would really look good with this, I'm not going to be you should probably add a little bit. How I go about it is I'm are you are you gonna do that? Like ask them if that's something they were thinking about including, and then maybe they
that's what usually I ask.
and then maybe like the years will take, be like, yeah, maybe I was thinking about it, and then so you're not like questioning their ability in front of their client.
Yeah.
So
I
because
mean,
that's the hardest part about critiquing art is like
it is.
the art is on a person with feelings and paying money. Like that's
That's
it's
why like anytime I've ever actually like gone in, like you mind if I throw a little something in there, like some advice. Like I like there was that time when Angelo did that really realistic looking strawberry. Remember that?
Yep. Hell yeah.
And I was like,
yeah.
dude, you mind a little advice? I'm like, yeah. And I was
Yeah,
like, just
yep,
add a
yep.
little bit more, either really dark red, a little black red underneath that, and that thing's gonna pop. And I promise you it will.
And that was good. And that was already like you had already tipped me off on the snowflake for the highlight anyway.
Yeah.
So I was already using that to like have extra pop, but that thing did need more black. And like for me, that's terrible because like that's one of my core philosophies is like don't be a fucking pussy about putting black in because most people like they're like safe, if you go too light, it's fine. But like if you fucking give them a piece that's too light and let them walk out of the door with it, it looks like a fucking flat thing instead of a round strawberry. So yeah, like that changed that one a lot. Yeah. And I love the open pit. Like there's a reason that I've maintained that over the years because it's so like there's a lot more camaraderie. You get to see a lot more going on. You're like networked, your clients are networked. They're like sharing pain with other people, enjoying the experience of like a little bit of banter going on, and all of that distracts from the pain and eases the process, and also like I think endears people to the environment, and that's the environment we all love anyway. Like we don't want fucking walls and music in each room and to be totally separate, and then to be like, if you're going around like showing somebody a tattoo, then there's like why are they bringing their client in, or like this and that. Like there's a lot more skepticism to it where like it's just open. It's like we're there to give people good tattoos and have fun. So
I think it's humbling as well, for tattooers as well, because I think given something like a room, like it kind of puts this you in this like ego, like, well, so like I went from a shop that didn't have rooms to a shop that had rooms. Like this shop clearly must be, like we're all individual, and then it just wasn't the experience I thought it would be, because you'd be in your room and then you'd be like, I'm gonna get out of here. Like I'm gonna go into somebody else's room. Like I found myself, if I wasn't tattooing, I was in the doorway of somebody else's room or peeking into rooms to see what was going on. Like and with an open floor too, like there's no hiding anything. Like there's nothing. It should be some sort of a comfort for clients because they don't see anything sketchy going on. They trust their artist, but they don't know who I am. Oh, who's that new guy in the back? Well, he's been here for a couple of years. He doesn't never met him yet, but he's cool. He's cool. So but he's not going to do anything fucking weird. But if I had my own little room, they'd be like, "There's a guy in there." And like, yep, and you're tattooing this person, and all they can think about is, what is that guy doing in that room? They have no idea. So like, so who knows? I don't know. I just thought that I think that's like a real thing. I would feel, like being able to visualize your entire surroundings during something as like intimate as a tattoo, like just feeling comfortable, be like, I know what's going on in this building. I can see, I can see the entire thing from one chair, and I'm okay. I'm ready to go. So.
Yeah, I think it definitely adds, like it has that element of pressure too, where you're like, you got to perform because people are going to look at your shit, whether you show it off at the end of the tattoo or not. Like they're going to catch a glimpse of whatever, it's like whether it be the stencil and they see your art or anything. And like it keeps like the pressure on to like be honest about your art creation and to be like putting out quality work in the end result. And then you have like that mixed client banter, so if you're hearing like what other people are getting into, then you like get better ideas about what you might be able to talk to clients about, or like what might be interesting to them, and how that like personal relationship can build. And I'm hoping we can pull Nick on here at some point soon, because that's a lot of the stuff that like I really want to get into deeper with him, because I think like he's really a master of that, like that personal relationship.
Yeah, I think having the open area And having everything out on display, like you said, is definitely, you know, keeps people, there's pressure. There for sure is. And in an open pit style, unfortunately, like we have to deal with the fact that I have gotten people asking me to do tattoos that were clients of people that I like, of your guys, you know, that I've worked with, because I had my stuff out on display, you know, like, hey, that's cool. Like, I want to get tattooed by that guy. And I'm sure vice versa, you know, like I've had people that have gotten tattooed by, you know, some of you guys because they've seen your work up on the walls now, and they are interested in, you know, Megan's coming up and Megan's paintings, or Dennis's paintings, or Angela's paintings. So it's like, you know, now we have this pressure that we're also going to be probably inevitably sharing some clients, because they're coming into the shop seeing what everybody does, and they're like, I'm so overwhelmed, this is so great, you know, versus where you have these rooms, and unless you are booked with that person, you're not going in their rooms, you're not talking to that artist, you're not hearing what they're saying, you're not seeing the tattoo they're doing, you're not seeing any of the artwork, you don't even know that they exist. You know, you're only going in for your artist, so you just, you know like, oh, my artist is the best, my artist is the best, and then meanwhile I'm in the room next door crushing it on this tattoo, like just really getting it in there, and like they have no idea I exist, you know. But I think I think that's good to have competitiveness in a team, you know, like
it's like healthy competition.
atmosphere.
I feel
Yeah.
where it's not like we're not like stealing food from each other's mouth. Like, it's, you know, none of us are going fucking broke in this process. But yeah, like, people, if you pull in, we'll see other people's work, and that's awesome. Like, we've gotten into a couple of collaborative tattoos and things now, and like, I think that's like going to be an awesome part of the future going forward, with like mixed styles, and just like I said earlier, like where you get inspired by someone's work, and like a collaborative tattoo is the perfect opportunity to like be able to jump right into their style, because it's like you draw it together, or you're creating it together, and then you're executing it together. So there's not like, you're not going to like streamline that process, you know, without having both people participate to some degree in all forms of that tattoo. So like, that's, I think that's part of like what is pushing tattoo forward now. Like, collaborative tattoos are dope. Like, you can get a tattoo from two awesome artists that no other artist can create, just the way that if you have a quality enough artist, your art should be something that is very difficult for someone else to attain.
I also feel like our shop has a very like healthy banter to it, where, you know, even, you know, Nick's clients, like they're definitely diehard Nick fans, and they're getting tattooed by Nick. I've tattooed a couple of Nick's clients, you know, before with permission, just because they wanted something a little bit of a different style. But like, me and Nick definitely have like a frequent banter, you know, and I think his clients are almost like used to it and like expecting it, and it's like almost like I mean, those are just things that people look forward to when they go and get their tattoos, is like, you know, the just the people. So like, even though I'm a different artist, like me and Nick are just going at it, and they think it's funny or whatever, and that's just part of their experience getting tattooed, you know. So it's good to have people around, you know, especially if they think I'm like boring, and then you guys can talk to my client, and then they won't, you know.
Sometimes, yeah. You guys ever get that feeling that you're not doing enough talking while you tattoo at times when you're talking to clients, because you're so focused? You're so focused on the tattoo.
I talk infinitely. Like, my clients, like I talk to some clients and they don't even respond, and I still talk. I just keep talking. So
yeah, I definitely get in that zone where it's like, I'll tell clients straight up. I'll be like, you know, if today it doesn't seem like I got a lot going on with the conversation, if you have anything you want to talk about, or that you want to bring up about anything, you know, feel free to. Once you get me rolling, I'm in there. But like, if I'm like in the zone, or if I'm like just having a day where I'm feeling quiet, then those people, like, some people could get an experience, you know, a one-off experience with me where they never really, like, they're like, oh yeah, he just, you know, he works his ass off but doesn't really talk a lot, and then maybe they see me again or don't. But like, if you come back and see me another day, I might have a totally different feel and vibe to what's going on.
Right. Yeah. You know, it's like, it just brings me back to like what I was saying, you know, like coming into the shop just not in the perfect mood, or, you know, like we're humans too, and we have real life shit that goes on.
Yeah, that's always rough. When you come in a bad mood, it's rough. And like, sometimes you explain that to clients too.
Yeah, and you hear the whole thing, you know, all the time, you know, leave it at the door or whatever. But like, it's not easy. It's not possible.
Yeah.
You know, like it's
Yeah,
not
no.
possible to leave. It's not possible to leave your life at the door of what you consider to be a big part of your life. You know,
Yeah. I
it
mean,
just
I
doesn't
did
make
that for a
sense.
whole year. Just 2018, my clients, like any new clients, I'm surprised I even retained anybody from that year because I just was not in a good mood the whole time. So
Yeah,
it's like
that was a tough year. Yeah.
Yeah.
that's it. And then like, who knows? But like, I still did good tattoos. Still got the job done and stuff. But like, it was just a different context of seeing me. So like, and people that have seen me forever would be like, yeah, what's up? And I'd just be like, yeah, I mean, things are not great right now, but it'll get back to normal soon. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I think part of how you tattoo it also, it's part of how you're feeling that day and how it affects your emotions affect the way you tattoo a lot of times. If you're happy, you're down to get like some shit done, you're gonna get some shit done. If you're like in a situation where something affected you outside the shop, outside the shop, it's gonna affect you and how you tattoo in a different way as well. There are some people who can turn that on and off. There are other people who just can't, and it just comes with life. Just kind of how it is. I try my best to kind of not let any of that affect the way I tattoo, but sometimes it happens. It's not, and the best you can do is just kind of move forward as much as you can.
From my experience too, I think that we don't give clients enough credit as well as far as how understanding people really are. I feel like when you are in the service industry, I feel like you think that every single person that comes in and is getting this service from you is like very stuck up or very in this one way where it's like, if this guy shows any sense of emotion, I'm never fucking coming back because that's weird and I'm not human and I'm a fucking robot and this dude looks like he's gonna cry and that's not correct. So like my clients on the other hand, like they'll be like, hey man, how are you feeling today? Like, how's your heart? How's your anxiety? How you like? Any good news? Like, I heard you went to the doctor. Like, anything come up? And I'm like, oh man, I'm just having a rough day. And they're like, we can reschedule. Like, do you want something to drink? Can I go get us, something to eat? And like, that's just so great, like, and the reason why I talk so much, like while I'm tattooing or anything is because sometimes I get so anxious that like, if I'm not talking and like hearing myself talk, I think that I don't even exist or I'm going to actually die because I'm not communicating when I have these like panic attacks mid tattoo because it does happen. I don't care. I tell people, I don't give a shit. But the reason I talk so much is to remind myself that I'm still living and breathing, and that I'm still tattooing. And if someone was on the verge of death, they would not be holding a conversation and tattooing somebody. So like, it's important for me to just like ramble and talk. And my client sometimes is like, yeah, I don't know. And I'm just like, yeah, cool. I'm on a new heart medicine. Like, what's up? And they're just like, okay, like, that's cool. And I'm like, I don't know. I just figured I'd tell you. I don't know. So I don't know. I think we got to give them more credit. Like people are more understanding than we think from the other end of the service industry.
Yeah, that's true. And was actually mentioned in the comments how as tattoo artists we are technically considered like therapists. Like in a way, you know what I mean? We have our clients who come in and they've had a bad day and they end up just kind of venting out to us. And I think having that kind of closeness with clients, you end up making good, like past clients, you end up making good friends for some. I've got clients who essentially kind of become my friends. And but that's true. Like there's been plenty stories we've heard from our clients where they'd have to pay like a therapist to kind of discuss with us. And I think part of that I feel like is cool because they treat us like essentially real people. You know what I mean? Like we're not just people who are just trying to tattoo you and get you in and out. When you're sitting there and you're having a conversation, especially if you're with somebody for 3, 4, 5 hours, eventually you're gonna have like you're gonna have a friendship with that client.
Well, think about why so many people right now are like dying to get tattooed. Like I've never in my life had the like urge like to get tattooed. Where I'm gonna break down this door if you don't open up and let me get stabbed 100 times a second for hours. Like it just I've never I've never had that urge. Like I just don't like. I get messages and they're like, "Is anybody tattooing right now?" And I'm like, first of all, I don't fucking know. Probably not, and we're not supposed to be. But like, I'm not. And they're like, and some people are like, "Oh, I need my therapy. I need my therapy." So either they're like into like the pain aspect, but like a lot of my people, like they do treat this as a day, and we don't understand that. Also, like people treat tattoo appointments like a big event, And I used to hate that. Like people coming in and they're so fucking happy, and they got like their family with them, and they're taking pictures, and they're in my space, and I'm like, what is this? But like they treat it like that's a big deal. Like changing their lives, like that's a big deal. And then you got these clients that you see all the time, but they love it too because they've just been at work for the past 3 weeks all day long, dealing with shit at home and this and that. And they're like, finally, I gotta get my sleeve work done. What are we ordering for food today? How you been? Like they ask me about my life, like it's an escape for a lot of people. It's definitely therapeutic, even if it's not like conversation wise. It's definitely just like a way to get out of the house, a way to do something different than their normal, which is great. I think that's great. I think that's awesome.
I think the pain is a huge part of it. Like the pain is something that helps you get through a lot. Like physical pain, whatever the motivation is for wanting it, or if you just are, maybe you hate the pain or whatever. But I think that like going into the process and getting it done and like not bailing, you come out, you've earned that rite of passage. You feel stronger, you're empowered, you put your mind to something, you got it done. You made your educated choice, you've got a good artist, you've got achieved good art on your body, and now you get to cherish it. Like there's a lot to it there. And then yeah, like just the conversational aspect, the therapy, like is just so true. And obviously, like I have a psychology degree, like Megan, as far
True,
as
yeah.
bachelor's at least. But like, and so does Megan. So like in our shop,
Wait,
we
you
have.
do too? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Everyone's a psychologist, and here I am struggling with anxiety, and you guys are just like you guys are just psychologists.
I mean,
man.
I've tried.
No,
But-
I know. You guys know. You guys are great.
But like I've talked a lot about one day, eventually moving into that realm of like, if I need further degree or whatever, maybe I'll get it, or maybe I just won't, and I'll just say like non medical therapy. Like I'm gonna give you like ink therapy where you'll come in, we'll discuss stuff, I'll get to know you over a period of days or whatever it takes, and then I'm gonna give you a tattoo of my choosing, where on your body of my choosing, maybe limited by a couple of areas. I'm not gonna be like, oh, you got no tats, but like you really need a dragon on your whole face. But like like that's something that I think in the future is something that I want to try to put together and figure out, and I think can be really cool for people.
Because
And
I
fun
got
for me as
clients
well.
that they struggle with these emotional things that sometimes tattooing can get really intense when you find out like, oh, this client, they come and get tattooed so they don't cut themselves. Like when you hear shit like that, like it's just with me, I relate to them a lot because I've dealt with self-harm in the past, and it's still to this day sometimes, and it's hard to hear things like that because you're like, I wish I could do more to help you other than just be like a tattooer, and like, it's not. It's sometimes it's hard for me to hear that they mask pain with other physical pain. Like we're doing kind of essentially the same thing, but you just get a cool drawing on you after. But it's like if there was some way to incorporate what we do with an actual professional like psychiatric background, like that could be groundbreaking for the industry and for like people
It could
in
be
general.
real therapy. Like it could be a legitimate
Yeah.
form. And I
Yeah.
think like it's out there. It's like I believe it's a thing. Like it just needs to be figured out better. My approach is probably more of like a shamanic approach, where I'm like, I'm gonna assist you in a way that's gonna be like transformative, but not necessarily scientific. But I think like scientifically, fuck yeah, as well. Like that's totally available and probably will be in the future. Like for me, getting this guy on my arm in that year where I was having a very hard year, sitting down for the tattoo and knowing I was going to be there for a day and knowing it was going to hurt pretty good, and me just in my head like, it's not going to hurt. There's like, you can't even begin to hurt me right now because there's nothing that is
Right.
is available to hurt. Like I'm
Right.
hurting at my maximum, and and it pushed me to the point that the physical pain became very extreme, and got past like that point of like the mental pain that I had distracted me from it, and then in the end of the day gave me something that I get to cherish going forward, and have that memory. So like it helped me break ground on my mental health in that time as well. So like that, like even just having weird intentions about it also, got me additional benefits.
I would like to take the quick second to also just say, if you are somebody like that, you are a client of mine, and you are in that position, and you are, for some reason, relying on me to help you get through any sort of mental illness or physical distress, don't. And there's tons of resources out there, and I'm actually an advocate on those resources and have them readily available. And you can contact me directly via my Instagram, and I have numbers for you. So, quick little
That's
plug.
awesome. No, that's awesome. And it is like I fear like what you said about people who do self-harm, like especially the young people that we get incoming that have self-harmed and stuff and are looking for different tattoos to like, they're putting them on their wrist, they're putting them on their arm, areas where they're saying like, hey, don't fucking do this, and preventing hopefully that stuff from happening, and hopefully reminding them of certain things that enlighten their mind. But right now, obviously, like in quarantine, that has been a big concern of mine. Like there are those people that are out there hurting, and they're not able to get a lot of resource anywhere. Like we know that it's a fact. Like going for mental health right now and seeking counseling for that is not something that is
extremely
very
difficult.
easy.
It's very difficult right now. Probably one of the hardest things to get medically treated for right now would probably be, at an extreme level, would be mental health. There are
It's terrifying.
there are people that you can contact. I just did this research recently, like within the past couple of days, for my own personal gain, through this, and I've realized that a lot of it is it's going to be over the phone, it's going to be through video calls, stuff like that. But the resources that are out there during any normal period is actually much bigger than I ever anticipated. But unfortunately, walking into a hospital right now is like extremely dangerous for your own health and the health of others. And they're kind of closing the doors on mental health cases, and that was extremely difficult for me to see and experience personally. But there are other resources out there, and I don't want to make this all about that, but it is something that that is dear to me. So again, I have numbers that I've actually recently contacted. Like these are recent things that will help you now today.
Hell yeah. To switch it up to something more along the lines of tattooing, I think like back to the conversation about like working in like an open area, like you do get those opportunities to like go in and like watch somebody pretty closely. And for me, like watching is pretty much second best to getting tattooed by somebody for education. So like learning a different tactic that you don't know about, that maybe you weren't even looking for, but you were just like hanging out and chatting, and then you're like watching, for like a quick example, like the angle that you tattoo at, Bryant, where you're like that when you're creating a line, and like how the machine's angled and what you're doing to approach these lines in like different directions and stuff, picking that up, passively, and just being like, oh shit, you're doing this totally different than I am. Maybe I should try that, to improve some of the things that I see in my work that's not gonna like not holding up in the same way. And then it works perfect. Like you hooked me up with the Cuban that one day, and I had been watching you use it extremely efficiently, like tattooing fast and stuff. And at the time I'm sitting there, I'm like, my machine is like will get the job done, and it's a great machine, but at the same time I'm like, I'm moving a little slower, than I want to move. Like I feel inside of me that I'm at the point now where like if I could just move a little faster and trust that the machine's going to follow up with that, I could do it. And then like bam, the thing's in my hand and banging out like
Right.
mint ass lines right away with a brand, a technical machine to use too.
And the speed that you caught on with that machine is it's a godsend to tattooing, but it's also it has its good and bad days. It's extremely difficult to use. It has a very high learning curve. There's days that I tattoo with it flawlessly, and then there's days that it spits ink all over myself and all over my client and all over my surroundings. And I want to throw it out the window. And then the next tattoo that comes in, I set it right up, even though I told myself yesterday I was going to sell it. I think it's, machines are important, where these machines that you guys are using, they're incredibly convenient. The cartridge system has, made tattooing very, very convenient. It looks very easy to set up. And I don't have any issues with that. But when you learn coil machines do one thing a piece, thus you have to buy more of them to do different things. However, Angela, you said, I wish I could go faster. I wish I could push a bigger needle. You call up a builder and how fast you want to go and how big you want to push, and you tell them, and that's what you get, and I think that's just, one of the positives about using custom tattoo machines, is you get to find something that works for you. That if you handed me that machine and I plugged it in, I'd be like, I fucking hate this thing. You can have it back, and that's just what's so great. I think that's really awesome. But I've never used a pen, so maybe I would plug in the Zion tomorrow and be like, these things are tits. Like, why am I not using this? But maybe I would also be like, why can't I push my 14 round shader? Why can't I do this? Why is it so quiet? Why is it, so it's really just like, I've noticed that I've had this influence on tattooers, even though I've been tattooing a short amount of time, is that like my equipment is people are interested in the equipment I use. And I mean, have even gotten people into coil machines just by being a coil machine user, and talking so highly of them, so that's great. I think that's cool.
You did make the conversion for me, like grabbing the wiener dog and using that in the beginning was like my first exposure. And that's still like, the coil that I use. I don't think I need to like venture too far. Like when you use something and it works, then, use it until you're dissatisfied. And like, the time has come where I'm like, maybe I should either be turning this thing up or I need to experiment, with voltage or something. But I need to, like, I feel like I want it to work faster. It'll probably be good getting back to tattooing. I imagine I won't be like, let me just this line right in, like, after quarantine. But like you have that development, and they're all just tools of the trade. Like there's a lot of things like that I wouldn't imagine doing with coil machines, and then all artists are doing different shit. Like I'm blown away by what Yogi Barrett's blasting out ridiculous portraits with coils, and you see like Timmy B slaying with the Keith B machines, fucking his new school, and just doing insane color blends and stuff. And then I'm like, that seems impressive. Like, there's clearly stuff going on out there. And then on the other end, with the Zion, you see a lot of people, or any pens or whatever, doing some pretty gnarly shit. But I think you gotta like realize like what works for you and how it works for you, and then put it to work.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is, whatever works for you. Like, people ask, like, what do you prefer? I just like, I prefer what helps me make that tattoo. I prefer what I need to use to make that tattoo great. Am I going to use my coil shader today or my rotary? Am I going to outline with the Cuban? Am I going to outline with a coil? Am I going to, whatever it is, I'm going to do what I need to use to make that tattoo good, depending on who that person is, the type of tattoo I'm doing, type of skin. And the only way that I know that is because I bought so many fucking machines. I used to get so much crap from people like, why do you have so many machines? You've been tattooing for a year. And I'm like, I want to try stuff. Like it's good to learn the machines you have so you know the ins and outs. But like, what if those machines just weren't for me? That whole first year of tattooing, and now I'm just set back. So like, I just push people to try what they want to try. And I got Angelo to try a coil, but I also bought my first rotary working at the edge. Like I was like, I'm gonna
fire tattoo on my leg with it.
I'm gonna buy that Neotat. Like I'm just gonna do it, and I bought it, in an RCA cable, and I plugged it in and I tattooed Leonard with it. And I was like, this is weird, but I like it, like.
There's, like Angela said, this preferences. We all have our preferences when it comes to it. I definitely want to get back into using coils again, especially for doing like line work. I feel like with coils, line work comes out so much better. But
Heals better too, I think.
Yeah, but like I said, man, and just like you said, it's all reference. Who cares whether you should just pick coils or just pick rotaries? They're tool trade. They're all good for what you need. If built correct, if built well.
Yep.
But I think I want to try going back to coils for at least doing my line work and stuff, and getting more solid lines in. I've always considered my line work to still be one of the weakest things in my tattooing. So I'm like constantly trying to improve my line work.
What do you think that is that makes it that way? Like when you're lining, like why do you think you're just not getting the results that you want?
I don't know. I've been going at this, trying to figure it out for years, and I don't know what. Like, there are times my line work is always on point and it's good, and I don't have an issue. There's times where I like it takes me a little longer to do that one pass, what should be a one pass line. It's just, I don't know. Maybe I haven't found the right machine to do it with, and or maybe I'm not going where the needle actually needs to go. But I mean, I'm not saying my line work's terrible.
No, it's not.
But it's just like I feel like I can definitely improve on my line work more. And I think for me, when it comes to tattooing, what I feel like for me takes a long time is my line work. Because if I can knock out my line work, my shading and my coloring is faster for me.
That's like probably the opposite for me. I mean, actually, no, they're both fast, but I don't think that's from like, it's not an ability standpoint. It's just, how it works, so you're not faster because you tattoo better, or you don't line slow because you're bad at line work. You're just more cautious about it, like because you feel like that's your weakest point or something that you struggle with. So you go slower because you think that's going to help. When maybe it's like, maybe you just need to like plug in a coil, rev it up, and just like cruise through some like traditional line work, and then just like get the knack for it again, and not like, and gain some sort of like confidence, and be like, actually, this lining stuff is pretty easy, like, and then like that'll become fast too, because I was so slow at line work when I thought it was like when I was struggling, and then when I got it down, it just like got really, really fast, like too fast.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it could be, sometimes it could be the tool. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm not using the right machine for my line work. Which actually I was actually going to talk to you about building me a machine soon. So see that you've been kind of doing that lately.
I can assemble you a machine. I can put parts together. No, I'd like for you guys to try them out. I mean, it's not something that they're not something I'm putting on the market. I'm not a machine builder. I'm not I'm not open for business. But I have gotten into
but you
tuning and
know a lot
assembling.
when it comes to coils. Like, you're very educational when it comes to like knowing how to work a coil, like more than a lot of us at the shop. Your ins and out through a machine, and like I miss being able to have that. I mean, like the only brought like during my apprenticeship, my mentor he didn't really use coils, so so I kind of had to study. I studied coils before I even became an apprentice, but not nearly as knowledgeable as like the way you explain.
I think one of the things that like drew me to it was like that drew me to tattooing was the machine itself, because I thought that they were so cool. Like I was trying to build my own tattoo machine when I was in my apprenticeship. Unfortunately that project was demolished, but I was attempting to assemble my own one, and I, put it together, and I plugged it in and it started running, and it made the noise that a tattoo machine makes. And I was like, oh, cool. It was not tuned. I didn't know like the relevance between the capacitor and the wraps on the coils and the size of the springs and all that. Like I didn't know how to put a liner or shader together. I just knew how to assemble it pretty much like adult Legos.
Yeah.
And then it started running, and then I did a tattoo on someone, and the tattoo was bad. But maybe just because I was new at tattooing and I was an apprentice, but it was also probably because my machine was bad, so like,
Yeah. Like I know how to put a machine together. Whether I can tell you it's going to work well or not, probably not.
yeah, it's the assembly is the easy part. The tuning and knowing the relativity between the parts is something that I'm still learning as well. But I think that it's going to be something cool to get back into when we're back together at the shop. Is becoming interested in not only tattooing again, but our tools. Becoming interested in having interest in every single aspect of tattooing is so important. And I think a lot of people lack that. Is that they're just so important on, doing the tattoo and be popular, or whatever, Instagram famous or whatever. They forget about like every other aspect of tattooing, painting and the tools and
I'll be right back.
needle groupings and pigment, and just thinking about the process of all these things. Like I recently I want to learn how to make needles. Like I've always wanted to learn how to make needles, but is there anybody out there teaching people how to make needles? No. I want to mix some pigment and do all the things that people used to have to do, because that was what you had to do in order to do what we do, and I think those things are just so cool. But it's okay to not have the same interests, as older tattooers or whatever. It's okay to not want to
It's
use.
good to have the knowledge though.
Yeah, and I think if there's anything you're gonna do that you used to have to do, it's probably use a coil machine. Like at least learn the ins and outs of it and why it does what it does, and then you can go back to the pen. Like it doesn't matter. Like, but it is difficult to see apprentices out there just the picture of their first tattoo and they're holding the pen and they got the sleeve and the little wrap around it and they got the whole setup, and I'm like, it looks really pretty, but you have no idea like what a coil machine would feel like, and that's why it's weird that Angelo used a pen rotary and then Megan started tattooing with coils. Like usually they would use what their mentor uses, so like, but it must have been an interest in Megan to be like, I want to learn on this, or I want to use this because I have an interest in coil machines or what?
It was both. It was something that I knew that's how I wanted to learn, that I at least, even regardless of what I ended up using eventually, I knew I wanted to learn that for sure. And then it was also something that like, unless I'm wrong, I don't think there was any doubt in Angelo's mind that he's like, no, like you're going to learn on a coil. Like it was like a mutual thing. Mm-hmm. But it's still something that I definitely want to learn more about. And that's why I'm like, one of the things, like you were saying, excited to do when we're all back at the shop is just all kind of figuring out more and learning more things and getting into a lot more shit. I don't know.
Yeah. So I was actually at the shop today because I had to pick up some stuff from the shop. I'm like looking around. I'm like, it's so empty in here.
I went once in the very beginning of this to just like pick up. I had a bunch of like reference books and stuff I wanted to grab, and I was like, I didn't feel right the rest of the day. I was like super fucking sad after that.
I was kind of bummed today when I left the shop.
Yeah.
So, for a little bit.
It
just
feels
because
grim.
like, I'm used to just being there and grinding stuff out. I'm like joking to myself as I'm driving to the shop. I'm like, man, I'm gonna put the GPS on. I don't remember how to get to the shop.
I mean, I've been there too. I've been bummed out there. I've been real bummed out there. Yeah. But it's only a matter of time, guys, like, and this is where the topic goes every episode. We go into Corona time. So let's, we'll get our 5 minutes of Corona time. As you guys know, hair salons were pushed out of the May 20th opening. What does that mean for us? We still don't know. I've been getting questions. Oh, what about you guys? What about you guys? Well, we were never in the May 20th opening we haven't been for about a month. And I don't think, I'm a firm believer that just because they're being pushed back to June doesn't mean that we're being pushed back even further from when they were considering us to be pushed back. I think we're just staying in our same time frame that they have in mind. I don't think them being pushed back is going to push back everything. They're just one of the things in the 20th opening that's not opening.
Yeah.
Apparently, due to the response from hairdressers themselves, they are saying that they weren't ready. That's what the governor was saying, was that he was getting an overwhelming amount of calls from hairdressers saying, just because these people are ready to go back doesn't mean we are. And then there's also a council of surrounding states where if they aren't all on board, apparently they can't make the decision. So Rhode Island decided to push back the May 20th date and staying with like Massachusetts or something like that. So Connecticut had to kind of be on board. I don't know if I 100% believe that, because I feel like each state has its own power. But I've been told that that's kind of how it works. And he felt he had no choice based on the response he got from hairdressers and the response he got from the surrounding states, is that he had to kind of make that decision. But I feel like that is kind of, I don't know how I feel about it, but if that's fine, that's fine. I don't think that's going to affect our date if they ever were considering one. So.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like fucked up in a way on several levels, because obviously there were probably hairdressers that were fine with going back. And it just gets back to my general point that it's like, there's unemployment, there's all these things going on. They just need to make a statement and make it available, like, to the fact that, like, despite whether your employer decides to bring you back to work or that you're legally opened, if you are not comfortable with that, up to a period of time, that you can remain doing so, because the more people that want to live cautiously like that, like, the better it is for the herd. And who knows what your extenuating circumstances are, but for young, healthy people whose lives are on the line, whose families could be starving, who could be in where a month and a half they could be evicted from their house if they haven't been able to pay. You bet fucking believe that those people really want to get back to work and are doing anything they can to make money right now.
Yeah.
So,
the only thing I've said, confidently throughout this whole thing is, if it ever gets to the point where this goes on too long, to the point where I am no longer eligible for government assistance, like unemployment, I will be tattooing.
hell yeah, same.
But I don't say that in a malicious way. And I don't say that in a threatening way. So like, it's not like, hey, open up, But I do think that the governor, at least when he's been on the news every day making these announcements, he should at least have he's been getting an overwhelming amount of feedback from tattooers. I know that CAPT is heavily involved in talking to people to get some answers. I really think he should at least acknowledge the fact that we exist via the news, because then we might calm down a little bit. And there's a lot of people out there getting a little too rowdy. I've seen it on Instagram. People are getting way too rowdy. And
Oh yeah.
It's like the governor's one fucking dude. Like he can't change the world in a day. He's a governor of Connecticut. Like he's not some, he's not a god. He's not a miracle worker. He is the a pawn of the United States government. He basically just tells people what he's allowed to do and what he's not allowed to do. So think of it this way, like, as if he just said on TV, like, hey, we're considering, this tattoo shops, this for this time period, June, July, early July, late June, anything like that, and just included the word tattoo, we might see our people kind of, not be as hyped up about it, and it's, and it would just make me feel a little bit better that he at least knows that we exist. Which I'm sure he does, but to acknowledge us would be like the next level, I think. And I think that would be important for him to do.
Yeah, besides the specific statement, that excluded us from the May Open, which I now thinking about it, I did look at the hairdresser thing as like, fuck, we just got pushed back too. But yeah, it's just like they threw us out, and then they threw nail salons out, and then they threw hairdressers out, which is pretty reasonable. I mean, to some degree.
It was all just at different times.
The numbers still aren't there for any of this anymore. But it's the issue is he can't be like, if you're from Hartford County and the Meridian line that runs along that north, you're fine. And if you're from Southern Connecticut, you're still closed. I think that is where they're probably running into a lot of technical difficulty, because basically some of these fuckers out in like the Norwalk, Ridgefield area and shit like that, they're basically working in New York City. So they would be so fucked if they were trying to open back up. They would definitely have somebody in their shop that has it or is sick or gets sick or is injured by it in some way. So that would be an issue.
Yep.
But like, obviously, for more rural areas and for people that are like more limited, like for me, I have a lot of internal debate going on about like out of state clients. Like we have a lot of people coming from Mass and stuff, after talking the other day with Jim and that like him not really doing any minors, anyone under 18, I think that might be a solid, besides clients who are already booked. I'm thinking about no one under 18, for at least like a year, something like that. So that way we don't end up having to have them and a parent, and we're getting more people from out of state. Like that's maybe just minors from in-state, and do that for a period of time. Like obviously we'll have an off-air conversation where we can all kind of weigh in on our thoughts about these things, but like I prefer to err on the side of caution. I'm not necessarily trying to bring in, like, I hate to like be like every person who calls, are you from anywhere 25 miles outside of New York City or Boston? Because you're not coming here. Like, I don't want you coming to my shop because you're just too risky.
Right. And it's going to be hard to do that. It's going to be hard to open up and then
turn people away.
Residential segregation. Like,
yeah, it's going to be really difficult. That's going to be extremely hard. And I know the past couple episodes we talked a good amount about coronavirus. I know we've talked about when we think we're going to open, the effects it's going to have on the business, or how we're going to have to do our business and stuff like that. I think the one thing that we can address in this episode is just like the overwhelming question that I'm sure you guys have gotten to your direct messages and your Instagrams and stuff like that is, have you heard anything? And the answer is still no. And that's just to anybody listening that has, I got that message twice today, a couple times yesterday, and a couple times the day before that. Do you know of anybody tattooing or when you can open? The answer is no. And, we have talked in the past about how difficult things could be if we continue to get pushed back and then more and more tattooers become fed up and open underground. That's going to leave a lot of people open to more than just coronavirus. And it's going to cause a lot more issues. And then, of course, that's a bunch of untaxed, dollars that the state is also missing out on, because people are just going to be making a bunch of underground money. And there could be a good amount of tattooers that get used to that kind of money and stay underground, even when we do open back up. So gotta kind of think about it that way. That, I personally am kind of worried about these things. People kind of going underground, staying underground, and kind of ruining things for everybody, But no answers. That's the big question that I've been getting. I'm sure you guys have gotten it too. I know literally nothing. There is no answers. There's nothing.
Jim in the chat said that he had saw something about tattoo parlors in Connecticut potentially opening around June 20th at the earliest. And I agree. That's like, from what I've seen, that's pretty much like the vaguest of anything semi-official. And that's usually, I think, like I saw it from like a reporter who was reporting on somebody from the committees that is, not a final decision maker, but were in an interview that suggested this. So it's not like nothing firm, but it's something to hope for. Like for us, that would be very good. At the Edge Tattoo, that would be very nice. Honestly, any open time
summer
up to July would be very, very good. It was NBC, says Jim. Yeah. So that's pretty legit. That would be a great turnaround.
I also haven't seen one of these killer bees anywhere. I haven't seen a single one.
What do they look like?
They're from Japan. They're from Japan.
Is it like a wasp?
It's a murder hornet.
More
They're supposed to be
They're like this
winches.
big.
But
We had
there's
like a
videos.
ground wasp. We had like a ground wasp the other day outside that looked like a fucking giant. It was like a queen bee size
Murder
bee,
hornet.
but it was like darker.
You would have to
and-
get stung by a lot of them to actually get murdered. by
And
one.
it
Just
would not
saw-
die. Like I smashed this thing so many times because if there's a if there's a queen around, you got, and you know how I feel about killing bugs or killing anything. Like I don't, but like if
Yeah.
it's dangerous to like me or my kids, which a fucking wasp of that size definitely could be, or if especially if that was a queen from a different group, like it's important to nail them because then the rest of them will disperse.
I don't know
3-inch
how these
horn.
things. I don't know how they became a thing. I just kind of like subtly heard about it, like in in a
Oh,
meme.
and they
Like,
ground nest. Damn it!
I don't know.
could've
I
been
don't
one.
know. I don't know how, but there was like no reported deaths. There's a video online of a guy like purposely stinging himself with one of them.
Yeah,
But he also stings himself with everything. There's a video
Yeah.
online of one of them
That's-
fighting a praying mantis, and the praying mantis was eating its
I was
head.
gonna
That
say,
was awesome.
like, best way to solve it: get a praying mantis, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
praying
you
mantis
can
head
you
off.
can actually buy them by the hundreds and by the thousands online and just deploy them in your yard if that's something that is necessary too.
Wow.
Those things are pretty cool, though.
But yeah, realistically, it wasn't murdering anybody. It just became like a thing. But apparently, I read something the other day. It was like it actually like there was a first confirmed death of somebody from a murder hornet who was like a small child. So it
Damn.
probably has a stronger effect on children just because of them being smaller. But then there's like a video of a grown man purposely stinging himself with one, and he's just like screaming, and he's just like, "That hurt," but he's fine. I don't know. It just, I don't know. But, that's just a little, something different that was kind of going on. I
So strange.
personally haven't seen one of these things, but
Well, I'll just say this on some good news, even though it's not tattoo involved. They're remaking Tony Hawk 1 and 2.
yeah,
That's gonna be sick.
I'm pretty stoked about that. That actually looked decent. They talk about new skateboard games all the time, and I'm like, man, I was an actual skateboarder, and like, there was nothing. I hated playing skateboard games because I just like, I play for like 5 minutes and then I go outside and try to skateboard. But now that like I'm a fat grumpy tattooer, like I'll play some remastered Tony Hawk. It looks pretty good. I hope the soundtracks are like remastered too. Like it's like it's like super good quality soundtrack.
They brought at least 50 songs from the original back.
So much
Nice.
Alien Ant Farm. Like,
Yes.
oh my god.
Dude,
So
so
much.
much gold.
Yo, we're gonna play nothing but Tony Hawk soundtrack music when the shop opens.
I mean, I hate on Activision a lot because they ruined my favorite company, Blizzard, by buying them and squandering all of their money by producing shitty games like the last Call of Duty launch that massively failed. But they are doing because of the 20th anniversary of Tony Hawk's, they're doing that, remastering that. And there is talks, and there was a recent leak also about a potential Diablo 2 remake, like full on, like totally redone, high quality graphics and everything that I'm pretty hyped about because it's also the 20th anniversary of Diablo as of like June, so next month.
Did they scrap the mobile game?
No, Diablo Immortal is unfortunately still on schedule. That's gonna be probably a big hit in China, I guess. Like that's what they're doing it for. But yeah,
How would you do
China.
anything for China right now? Why are you
China's a
giving
lot
them
about
games?
They did
a
a
lot
lot for
about
us.
mobile games. Yeah, they're
God damn
so
it.
here's the good news about China is
Good
they're back
joke,
up.
by the way.
They're back up and running. As far as production is concerned, so for all of our tattoo equipment and all of our PPE, they will be more available than they have been. Once the supply chains are filled and the shit calms down. But that's definitely something as tattooers that we could have been probably devastated by.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I think on that at least positive note, I think we we're about 2.5 hours in now at this point.
Yeah.
So I think anybody has any last words, I guess, until the next episode.
Closing statements. I did want to say, like if anybody has been watching and you're a tattooer from Connecticut, or someone that deals in the tattoo industry, to hit us up, and do not be afraid to hit us up about being on a future episode. We're not looking for famous people. You don't need to have,
Just anybody.
a story like we did with Jim. Just anybody that's being affected right now and wants to come on and just have a talk with us. Don't be afraid to just message me and request to be on, because chances are you just get on in a few days and you hang out with us. It's a lot of fun. It's something that I've enjoyed doing, that enjoyed starting. There's no script. There's no real rules. Just come on and talk. Like just hang out and make some content for people to enjoy while we're kind of just sitting at home. So
Word.
just throwing that out there. And keep the chat going. Like this will be uploaded to YouTube. The other ones are uploaded to YouTube, I believe. We don't always see the chat. Sometimes we're like deep in conversation while like questions are popping up in the chat. But we did talk about like kind of separating having like interviews with people versus doing like Q&As. So it's really been
Just
awesome to
have
see
Megan
like,
do that.
it's been awesome to see the same people coming into the chat and talking to us and asking questions, and it helps kind of keep the since we're unscripted, it kind of keeps the conversation alive sometimes, with the questions can turn into a whole half hour section of our show. So that's really awesome.
Yeah.
And it's just a good way to be in contact with us, and if you want to just be on the fucking show, just message us and good job.
Yeah, it is for all the viewers out there. Super appreciated, especially the people that participate in the Twitch chat is like crazy appreciated. If you're in the Twitch chat, throw me a follow. I'm like 4 or 5 follows at most away from being affiliated with Twitch and being able to monetize some of this stuff going forward in the future. So that would be a big deal as well. But yeah, definitely I appreciate everybody. The shows are up on YouTube. I've figured that out. I've gotten better and quicker at uploading them. So we have episode 1 and 2 up on YouTube. They're in like an SD version because we don't have like a established YouTube account or anything, but they're on there nonetheless and can be absorbed. So check it out. It's The Edge Tattoo on YouTube, which is nice that we were able to get that handle. And we'll be making more. We're gonna stay consistent with this for now. Like we talked about it a little bit earlier, we're gonna be trying to do them at least bi-weekly right now, and if we have more demand and more opportunities for topics and things like that coming up. So
yeah, there's no real schedule that we're following. It's kind of like whenever we feel like doing it, we'll post on the page, our personal Instagram pages. So chances are the people in the chat, you're already following us, you've already been tattooed by us, or you know us personally. So just keep an eye out on our pages to see when maybe we're popping up. Usually I don't post it until about like 2 hours before we're actually doing the damn thing. But it's not like you guys have any other plans.
That's my fault.
So.
But yeah, we'll get better at that.
No, I mean
it's all in the beginning.
Chances are you guys are still at home anyways, and if you do miss an episode, we will be posting them, so they are all recorded. Also, thank you to Megan for coming on today.
Yeah, thank you, Megan.
Of course.
You've been great, very informative. We've talked about who we want to kind of reach with this show, and definitely newer tattooers or people interested in getting into tattooing. So we wanted to have you on the show, well, because you're part of the shop, but also because like you have different experiences and more recent experiences than we've had, as far as like getting into tattooing and how tattooing is to somebody who's newer to it. So I'm sure if you'd like to jump on with us again, I'm sure you will. And we'd like to ask you some more questions. We kind of, went off on some tangents, but we can ask a few more questions about your experience in the future. So, and then Nick, we gotta get Nick on here somehow. I don't know how.
We'll just abduct him, strap him to a chair, put a fucking webcam on him.
Yeah.
We're gonna need a few of us to abduct him, though. He's big and he's been working out for a while now, so
Yeah.
he's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
Or maybe some good drugs, some sort of sedative. Just hit him with long range fucking dart. I've always wanted to blow dart somebody, so we'll we'll do that. I'd need a wooden tube though. I need some bamboo and just.
Yeah, the episode where they of The Office when they tranquilize Stanley. I think they like wrap him up in like I forgot what they would wrap him up in like a carpet or something, and like roll him down the stairs.
Slide him down the steps.
Slide him.
His head goes through the wall right in the bottom.
Yeah, that's so ridiculous. But yeah, I'm cool. I'm cool with closing here, and you know, if you guys just want to like last minute, you know, shout out your names and your Instagram handles, and you know, any last little thing, then go for it. We can start with Megan.
Yeah. Well, thanks for everyone who came on and was listening to us. I know this is my first time on it, but they've been doing it for a little while and we're going to keep doing it. But yeah, you can find me and any of us at The Edge Tattoo on Instagram, and my Instagram handle is Megan Boyle Tattoo. And if you are someone who has been messaging me or is interested in doing something once this is all over, message me. I'll get back to you as soon as I can, but definitely feel free to message me anytime. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Dennis?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, my Instagram handle is Angry Pencil Studios. I'm still booking regardless of whether we're gonna be tattooing next week or next month. But yeah, I mean, message me whenever you guys want to do anything cool or interesting. You can also check out my YouTube page, which is just me doing artwork, time lapse of pieces that I've done, whether it's digital or painting. Same thing, Angry Pencil Studios. And you know, hope to see you guys in another episode. You know, these are something we've talked about for the past like year, and I'm glad we're finally doing this. It kind of feels like we're already back at shop.
Yeah, it definitely helps. Yeah, on that note, so for me, they hate us because they ain't us, acronym.art. And you can find me on Insta. I might actually do a little video game stream tonight. I might play some Valorant, which is a free game, super fun shooter game, and not good at it. So you can come talk shit. You can watch my APM face. You got an account? You got beta?
No, I gotta get one.
So you gotta just go to your Twitch. If you have a Twitch, you can go to your Twitch, link your Twitch. You gotta just go to valorant.com. It'll give you the process. Takes like a minute. If you watch me or anyone who plays Valorant on Twitch playing it, you can get into the closed beta, which it's in now for free. It'll be available for free for everybody soon, probably within 2-3 months.
We are not sponsored by them.
No, but you can play games with yours truly, and I might be playing some tonight. I'm going to end the stream for a little while, 5 minutes or so maybe, to stretch out and stuff. I plan on coming back, but there's possibility that I won't. So you might catch me on here later. Otherwise, I do stream video games on this channel as well. So, Bryant?
Awesome. Yeah, again, my name is Bryant. You can find me on Instagram at bsetzlertattoo. Currently, I am not booking any appointments. However, I am taking deposits. You know, and how that works is basically people that leave deposits, when it comes time for me to open the book and write you in, you will have priority, you know, along with the other people that have already left deposits. The reason I am not booking is because we do not have a certain date. I don't feel like moving them over and over and over again and having to contact everyone and giving them more disappointing news. So I am just kind of keeping it open right now. But any deposit that you send is being tracked very carefully and very securely, so that when, you know, we do get back to it, you know, I do take those numbers into account, and you do get priority over booking, and I will be contacting you. So you can message me on my Instagram, or if you have my phone number that's on my business card, you can contact me there. And I'll be doing this for the unforeseeable future with Angelo and the rest of the cast, you know, for whenever. So definitely keep an eye out for when our next show is. And thank you very much for watching. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. thanks for coming out, and thanks for being on the show tonight, guys. Especially Megan, finally got you on here. Hopefully,
Yeah.
you'll be on regularly.
Yeah.
And yeah, have a good night, guys. I'll talk to y'all soon.
All right.
Later, guys.
Yeah.
Bye.